After lunch, Vanessa headed back to the dorm for a nap, leaving Scarlett staring at her chat history with Lucas Carter, lost in thought. They hadn't messaged each other once since the day he'd confessed his feelings. She scrolled through their conversation, searching for any evidence that she had been even remotely kind to him. There was none. He was the one who sent good morning and good night like clockwork. He was the one who always asked if she was feeling okay, if she was warm enough. Her replies were always brief, a word or two at most. Sometimes, annoyed, she wouldn't reply at all. He'd frequently remind her to wear a jacket when it got cold, but she'd never once done the same for him. It had just become normal, a habit she'd taken for granted over the years. So much so that she'd started to see his attention as an entitlement, and she'd forgotten to be grateful. Scarlett rubbed her slightly reddened eyes, cleared her throat, and walked over to the dance crew practicing in the studio. "Hey," she said, her voice steady. "You guys mind if I join you for this performance?" For sure, they all agreed instantly. They had no idea what had gotten into the legendary Scarlett Montgomery, but having her on stage would be a huge draw. She had the looks and the talent. It didn't take her long to catch up. A routine of this level was easy for her. She only needed to run through it twice to have it down. But as she danced, her mind kept drifting. She found herself wanting to see Lucas. Excluding class, this was the longest they'd ever gone without seeing each other. And it was, she realized with a jolt, the first time she had ever actually missed him. But she had no reason to see him. The thought was disorienting, like waking up from a long dream. Her entire life, Lucas had always been there, at her beck and call, no reason necessary. If she wanted to see him, he was there. But now things were different. She actually had to think of an excuse. During a break, Scarlett sat on the edge of the stage, her eyes downcast. The feeling was surreal, unsettling. The perfect dream she'd been living in, a dream she hadn't even realized was so perfect, felt like it was truly over. But there's still a chance, right? She thought, trying to reassure herself. He wouldn't just leave me. He couldn't. She began racking her brain for a plausible reason to ask him to meet. Night fell, the moon a bright sliver in the Seattle sky. Lucas walked back into his dorm room, feeling uncharacteristically lighthearted. The first thing he noticed was that Jason Miller's bunk curtains were drawn. Not wanting to know what kind of air defense drills were happening in there, he averted his eyes and focused on Ryan Brooks, who was eating oatmeal. Oatmeal? At this hour? What are you on a health kick? Lucas scoffed. Ryan looked up, unbothered. Jason's girlfriend sent him some fancy organic oatmeal from that new place downtown. So I don't have a girlfriend, Ryan grumbled. So I had to buy my own. That son of a... He muttered a few more curses under his breath before calming down. He looked at Lucas with a pained smile. Want some? We're both pathetic guys, eating sad, lonely oatmeal. Lucas scratched his cheek, deciding it was best not to mention that a certain girl had been making him fresh oatmeal every morning. It felt like a secret that could get him killed. Sure, he sighed, walking over and taking a spoonful. He immediately ran to the bathroom and spit it out. Dude, what the hell is in this? It tastes like dirt and sadness, Lucas gagged, rinsing his mouth out. What's your problem? It's just oatmeal. Not all oatmeal, he thought, a faint smile touching his lips. Lily's didn't taste like this. He couldn't for the life of him figure out how he'd managed to finish the whole bowl she'd made him. As Lucas started packing a bag, Ryan looked over. What are you doing? Memorial Day weekend, remember? Heading home for a few days. Lucas continued stuffing books he'd already finished into his duffel. It was less about packing and more about offloading junk from his dorm room. He never needed to pack much. Home was just a short ride away. Carrying a bag felt like a courtesy to his out-of-state roommates. All right, I almost forgot you were a local, Ryan said with a laugh. Yeah, well, I couldn't bear to leave you guys, Lucas joked. Ryan suddenly leaned in conspiratorially. Dude, you want to hear something interesting? Lucas turned, intrigued. So, Scarlett's group reported another technical issue today. I went over to check it out. After messing with it forever, it turns out they just had his speaker cables plugged into the wrong jacks. And that's interesting. Why? Lucas asked, confused. I'm not done, Ryan said, pushing up his glasses with an air of theatrical wisdom. You know what she said when she saw me? Lucas waited. She said, oh, it's you. Ryan's eyes gleamed. Ryan Sherlock, Brooks thinks she unplugged them on purpose, hoping you'd be the one to show up. She probably doesn't know you pawned that duty off on me. Lucas snorted, tossing his bag aside and flopping onto his bed. You're crazy. I'd have an easier time believing Jason's actually studying in there than I would believing Scarlett wants me back. Seeing Lucas close his eyes, Ryan quietly walked over to Jason's bunk. He slowly pulled back the curtain. Inside, Jason was sitting up, staring intently at his laptop, a pen in hand, diligently taking notes. Ryan blinked. he whispered himself. But he really is studying. Meanwhile, Scarlett had just returned to her empty, cavernous family home. She changed into a silk and lace nightgown and curled up on the sofa, hugging her knees, her mood sinking. She didn't want Lucas to date anyone else, but she wasn't ready to be the one to chase him. For the first time in her life, she felt the piercing anxiety of losing something she never knew she valued. And in that quiet moment, it finally hit her with absolute clarity. She liked Lucas Carter. She used to wonder where he found the time, how he managed to constantly worry about her every little need. Now she understood. It wasn't that he had nothing better to do. It was that he cared so much. He cared if she was unhappy, if she was unwell. He cared so much that he knew her cycle better than she did. After a long silence, she opened her phone and typed out a new post for her Facebook timeline. Sometimes you don't realize what you have until it's gone, hoping it's not too late to treasure it. It was a message for Lucas. After agonizing over it, she still couldn't bring herself to send him a direct message, not even a simple goodnight. This was her first post in over 2 months. The last one had been from her birthday. She clicked on the photo, and a fresh wave of regret washed over her. It was a picture of a stunning bouquet of roses, their red petals in full, vibrant bloom, as if they would never wilt. Of course they wouldn't. They were made of paper. Lucas had spent nearly half a month preparing for her birthday party, and his gift to her had been that bouquet, which he'd folded himself. 33 perfect paper roses. She could still remember the envious stares from all the other girls at the party. Within minutes, comments flooded her new post. Scarlett, you feeling emo? I can take you to the movies. Is this about me? I don't want to lose you either. I'm still waiting for you. Even after you said no. If you're sad, go for a walk. I'll be downstairs from your dorm at 5. Regrets? Just say the word, and I'll be on the next flight to Seattle. The comments made her cringe. She quickly went through and unfriended the commenters she didn't even recognize. How did they all remember her when she had no memory of them? The comments from her female friends came in slower, and they didn't send her blood pressure soaring. Hugs, sweetie, gather you rosebuds while you may. Vanessa, who knew the whole story, simply posted a single sighing emoji, a perfect symbol of her I told you so exasperation. Scarlett sighed, her heart heavy, and kept refreshing the page. It was the first time she had ever cared this much about the comments on her own post. She was waiting for one person. All the eager, flattering replies weren't the one she wanted. She wanted to see a reply from Lucas. Even just a like would be enough. A long time passed. Nothing. With a knot of anxiety in her stomach, she clicked on his profile. His timeline was still completely empty. But one thing had changed. His profile background, which used to be a photo of her back, was now a picture of Pikachu. The night deepened. One by one, the lights in the neighboring mansions went out, plunging the world into darkness. The proud girl waited until she fell asleep on the sofa, but the reply she was hoping for never came. Through the window, the cool moonlight illuminated the bouquet of paper roses on the coffee table, making them look impossibly beautiful and cold. Behind them, the sleeping girl lay on her side, an ethereal vision. The moonlight traced the curve of her perfect cheek, the line of her elegant neck, the smooth skin of her legs, and the dried tear tracks that stained her face. It was early on Memorial Day morning. A light rain had fallen sometime during the night, leaving the air cool and crisp. Lucas Carter woke with a yawn, pulled open the curtains to let in the fresh air, and headed to the bathroom. Ryan and Dylan, both from out of state, had left early to catch their Amtrak trains. Only Jason was still in bed, sleeping like the dead. Hey man, what are you doing for the long weekend? Lucas asked, nudging Jason's bunk. He'd considered kicking it, but decided against it. Going on a trip with Vanessa, Jason mumbled from under his blankets. Trains this afternoon. You suck. This time, Lucas kicked the bed frame. Walking across campus, Lucas pulled out his phone and sent a message to Lily Thompson. Lucas, morning. What are you up to? The reply was almost instantaneous. Lily just got dressed. Heading to my part-time job. She was always like that. Whenever he asked what she was doing, she'd give him a completely earnest, detailed answer. Lucas, you found a new one. Lily, MHM, still handing out flyers. Over at the Mall of America. Lucas smiled and typed back. Lucas, that's great. He was so focused on texting that he nearly stepped off a curb and twisted his ankle. Startled, he put on his Bluetooth earbuds and called her. He knew she was looking at her phone, but it still took a good 10 seconds for the call to connect. Then, her soft voice came through the line. Hello. She sounded a little groggy, as if she'd just woken up. Almost broke my ankle texting you, Lucas said with a laugh. Figured calling would be safer. Man, that was a close one. Her voice was suddenly laced with anxiety. Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? He was confused. Why are you apologizing? I'm fine, I got quick reflexes. He yawned, secretly glad for the near accident. This was the first time they'd ever talked on the phone. He heard her let out a sigh of relief on the other end. Have you had breakfast yet? She asked. Nah, the stuff at the dining hall isn't as good as yours, he teased, not wanting to admit he was just too lazy to go. In the world of college student survival mode, getting 2 decent meals a day was a win. No one sacrificed sleep for breakfast. You can't do that. You have to eat on time. Should I bring you something? She offered, her sweet naivete shining through. Lucas grinned. Sure, you can bring it to my house. Make sure to bring enough for my family, too. Oh, and never mind then. Lily, who had already jumped up and run to her kitchen to make oatmeal, sat back down on her bed. Lucas was such a tease. For a second, she'd forgotten he would use any opportunity to mess with her. They fell into a comfortable silence, something that often happened when they were alone together. It was never awkward. In fact, they both seemed to enjoy it, just feeling the other's presence on the line. After a long pause, Lily spoke first. I don't think I've made any progress. What do you mean? When I was looking for jobs yesterday, the manager was asking me questions, and I just froze. I couldn't even speak. Lucas's voice was gentle. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's one step at a time. Confidence grows as you start recognizing your own worth. Otherwise, it's not confidence, it's just arrogance. All you have to do is keep trying to be a better version of yourself. Slowly, sensing she was still listening intently, he added, You've already made huge progress. The old you would never have worn that costume for the festival. I feel like that's different. It's not. Really? She asked, still doubtful. Totally, he said, his tone firm. Hey, next time, how about a full-on Renaissance fair outfit? You'd look amazing in something like that. You wouldn't want your friends to. Please don't tease me. She interrupted softly, her voice sounding wounded. A satisfied, wicked grin spread across Lucas's face, but it quickly softened into a look of sincerity. Seriously, just relax and take your time. I'm here for you. Okay, she whispered, and a weight seemed to lift from her shoulders. She didn't know why, but hearing him say, I'm here for you, made her feel incredibly safe. The half-hour ride home flew by. After reluctantly hanging up, Lucas paid the driver and hopped out of the car. As expected, it didn't feel much different. That was the one downside of going to college in your hometown. Holidays didn't have that special coming home feeling. Other parents treated their kids like visiting royalty, at least for the first few days. He opened the front door to the sound of chatter. Some relative he couldn't place was holding court in the living room, her voice booming. His dad, Robert, and mom, Emily, were sitting on the sofa, listening with polite smiles. His sister, Emma, was there too. 17 and stunningly beautiful, Emma was sitting quietly, offering a polite laugh now and then. She looked like the perfect, well-behaved daughter. Lucas knew it was all an act. If Mia was a social butterfly, his sister was a social hurricane. A pure little devil. Emily, I'm telling you, your parenting style is all wrong. You have to be strict with these kids, the aunt declared. Lucas put his bag down in the entryway and tried to quietly shut the door and escape. He'd rather be anywhere else than listen to this. His mom caught his eye and gave him a subtle nod, understanding his desire to flee. Just as he thought he was in the clear, a cheerful voice rang out. Lucas, you're home, Emma shouted, her eyes sparkling with mischief. The aunt's head snapped around, spotting him by the door. Is that your boy? Look how tall he's gotten. Lucas, say hi to your Aunt Carol, Robert prompted gently. Hi, Aunt Carol, Lucas said through gritted teeth. Defeated, he sat down next to Emma, shooting her a look that could kill. She just blinked back at him, the picture of innocence. He then noticed the boy sitting next to his aunt. He looked a year or two younger than Lucas, with a dull, vacant expression. Unlike Emma, who had mastered the art of social camouflage, this kid wasn't even trying. He just sat there, not talking, not looking at his phone, just staring into space. It was hard to believe he was in college. Since the cousin clearly wasn't going to say hello, Lucas felt no obligation either. He pulled out his phone and started texting Lily. Seeing her brother lead the way, Emma immediately followed suit, scrolling through TikTok. Lucas glanced at her screen and frowned. You're watching that cringe stuff? You know that's evidence, right? Look at kids these days, Aunt Carol sighed dramatically. Can't live without their phones. Phones and video games have ruined a whole generation. She turned to Emily. You see, Emily? Video games are just digital poison, rotting their brains. What? Lucas stared. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's practically an art form. And besides, he was a college student, not a child. Emily Carter just kept smiling her gentle, patient smile, which hadn't faded much with age. Our two just aren't as disciplined as your Kevin, she said diplomatically, then shifted her tone. But I still think you can't be too rigid. As long as they're not completely obsessed, a little entertainment is fine. Oh no, you can't think that way, Aunt Carol insisted, her expression grave. The experts online all say it's a plague. You can't touch it. She patted her son's shoulder with pride. My Kevin is in college now, and I still strictly control his screen time. When he's home for break, I take his phone at 10 p.m. every night. Lucas glanced at the boy and felt a pang of pity for him. Then he realized his aunt's gaze was on him. She stroked her son's head, then looked at Lucas and Emma, both engrossed in their phones. Emma is a junior now, right? You have to be really strict with her. When Kevin was in high school, I didn't let him look at a phone even once. But he made me proud. He got into a good state school last year. Emma rolled her eyes. How did she get dragged into this? Emma, you should learn from your cousin, Robert Carter said casually. That only fueled Aunt Carol's pride. She pointed a finger at Lucas. And you, as the older brother, need to set a good example for your sister. Less phone, more studying. You can't slack off in college either. Emma wrapped her arm around Lucas's. My brother's great, she said with a sweet smile. He's a perfect role model. Aunt Carol was unconvinced. She took a sip of water. So, where's Lucas going to school now? Lucas cleared his throat. My school? It's all right. Just the University of Washington. It's close to home. An awkward silence fell over the living room. Emma shot Lucas a look, a silent congratulations on their perfect teamwork. The University of Washington was a top-tier public university, a name that carried serious weight. Lucas looked at his cousin. The boy's expression hadn't changed. He was a puppet on a string, forced to live out the dreams of his overbearing parents, drugged with the poison of it's for your own good. What were his own dreams and passions? No one cared, likely not even him anymore. A few minutes later, Aunt Carol and her family made an excuse and left. Robert and Emily went to their room, leaving Lucas and Emma alone. Emma shook Lucas's arm. You're the best, big brother. Lucas smiled back. And you're the worst. He wasn't falling for it. The next step in this routine was her asking for money. Mom, Lucas called me the worst. Lucas. Emily's angry voice echoed from the bedroom. Emma grinned at Lucas, as if she hadn't just tattled on him. Bro, I want to go see a movie. Can you spot me? No money. If you don't, I'll tell everyone you were chasing after Scarlett. You know Mr. Montgomery's daughter? He's been so good to our family. How could you? Emma drew a finger across her throat, mimicking a movie villain. I can live off that secret for the rest of my life. With the common enemy gone, they had reverted to their usual dynamic. Go ahead, Lucas said, his expression dimming. I've already given up anyway. Emma froze. She reached out and pressed her hand to his forehead. You're not running a fever. Are you serious? When Lucas nodded, Emma's playful demeanor vanished. She sat there, staring at him as if seeing her brother for the first time. She knew better than anyone how deeply he had been in love with Scarlet for years. That was why this was so shocking. Lucas gave a bitter smile and said nothing more. Just then, the master bedroom door opened. Robert and Emily walked out, pulling suitcases behind them. Both were wearing sunglasses, arm in arm like a pair of movie stars. What are you guys doing? Lucas asked. Going on a trip, Emily said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Why didn't you say so earlier? Lucas asked, his voice rising in panic. I haven't packed anything. Why would we say anything earlier? We're not taking you. What? What do you mean, what? We're having a romantic getaway. Why would you tag along? Emily pecked Robert on the cheek. Robert, his eyes hidden behind sunglasses, just smirked. You and your sister behave yourselves at home. Lucas's head spun. You called me just a few days ago, telling me to come home. You said I didn't care about the family. And now, the second he was back, they were ditching him for a couple's trip? That was a few days ago, Emily said breezily. Lucas collapsed onto the sofa in defeat. He was done. Let the world burn. Emma, who seemed to have known all along, was already in full slouch mode beside him. Clearly, the children were just an accident. Emily started clearing the coffee table, then looked at Lucas. By the way, don't just sit around these next few days. Help your sister find a tutor. She's getting way too comfortable with this new day student schedule. I don't like it. Lucas blinked, then an idea struck him. A friend of mine is looking for a part-time job. Should I ask her to give it a try? Emily slapped his arm lightly. Lucas, are you serious? Why don't you teach her? Wouldn't you rather earn the money? It's a few $100 an hour. The thought terrified Lucas. Teaching Emma would be worse than death. She was smart, but completely unpredictable. The money he'd earn wouldn't even cover the cost of his blood pressure medication. Do you have any idea what your daughter is like? I would rather pay for her tutor myself than teach her. I wouldn't survive to see the first paycheck. Emily ruffled her son's hair, her smile full of fond amusement. All right, you got a deal. Her tutoring fees will come out of your allowance. Let your friend give it a shot. The front door slammed shut, leaving the two abandoned children in the living room. Even though this was typical behavior for their parents, they both felt a little down. What did you do to piss Mom off? Lucas asked irritably. Emma shook her head, the picture of innocence. My grades just slipped. A tiny bit. How tiny? Like 10 or 15 spots. In the whole school, in my class. Lucas let out a choked laugh. What have you been doing? Nothing. I just had an off month on my exams. I told Mom I'd do better next time, but she doesn't believe me. Emma slumped on the sofa like a deflated balloon, propping her feet on the coffee table. A few seconds later, she shot upright, hugging herself. Wait a minute. Is your friend a guy or a girl? You're not going to sacrifice my virtue for the sake of your friendship, are you? First, Lucas said, holding up one finger. No one would be interested. Second, he held up another. It's a girl. He paused. And third, seriously, Em, you have no shame. Emma was stunned. This was the first time in her entire life she had heard Lucas mention a girl other than Scarlett Montgomery. Who was this mystery woman? And why had her brother suddenly given up on Scarlet? What on earth had happened? In a matter of seconds, Emma had already imagined a whole soap opera filled with love, betrayal, and drama. What really happened with you and Scarlet? She asked tentatively. Lucas ignored her and walked toward his room. I'm tired. I'll take you to the movies and the mall tomorrow. Then you're going to tell Mom you're fine with my friend tutoring you. It's not like you actually need a tutor, so it doesn't matter who it is. That night, in an Ocean View hotel room, Emily Carter stared at the ceiling, muttering to herself. Middle-aged couples, it seemed, had endless things to talk about at this hour. You know what Lucas said to me tonight? He actually asked how much I was planning to pay. Can you believe it? I mean, I was always going to pay his friend the market rate, but it still annoys me that he's already siding with an outsider. She yawned, but I guess he's not wrong. We're not the type of people who try to lowball a college kid just because she's his friend. Robert listened to his wife's rambling in silence. The moment Lucas had mentioned a friend, he'd suspected there was more to the story. A while later, just as Robert was about to drift off to sleep, Emily suddenly sat bolt upright. Wait a minute. It's not a girl, is it? After lazing around all day and staying up half the night, Lucas finally got ready to take Emma shopping around noon the next day. As he was getting dressed, he sent a message to Lily. Lucas, you working at the Mall of America again today? What time do you get off? I need to talk to you about something. Lily-o, what is it? Lucas, now I know where I get my habit of starting sentences with oh. Anyway, it's important. We have to talk in person. Lily, I get off at 6. Lucas, cool, I'll pick you up then. Lily, okay. The plan was perfect. A day of shopping would make his sister happy, and he could secure an easier part-time job for Lily. With Emma spending more time studying, his parents would be happy too. It was a win-win-win situation. Besides, he'd just be at home reading or playing video games otherwise. They arrived at the Mall of America. Even though he had mentally prepared himself, he was still shocked by the sheer number of people there on a holiday weekend. Thankfully, the air conditioning was blasting, which kept the atmosphere from feeling too oppressive. Emma clung to his arm, dragging him from one store to the next with seemingly boundless energy. Lucas marveled at the paradox. How could a creature that couldn't even open a jar of pickles have the stamina to shop for hours without getting tired? Bro, I want bubble tea. I'll buy it for you. Bro, I need a new dress later. Fine. And can you give me a necklace, too? Emma asked, stopping in front of a jewelry counter, her eyes gleaming. Get lost. One more demand, and I'm buying you a stack of SAT prep books. She wasn't deterred. Bro, she said with a wicked grin, you wouldn't want your friend to lose this job opportunity, would you? How about this pearl one? I think it would suit you, Lucas said, pointing to a necklace in the display case as if nothing had just happened. Ooh, not bad. Your taste is acceptable. Let's try it on. A short while later, Emma was happily swinging a shopping bag with a necklace inside, while Lucas looked like his soul had left his body. He was only now realizing the flaw in his plan. This was a world where he alone was destined to suffer. He shuffled along zombie-like, letting Emma pull him wherever she pleased. Bro, look over there. Emma's eyes lit up as she pointed. At the bubble tea shop, a person in a snowman mascot costume was helping to sell drinks, waddling back and forth. Every time a customer arrived or left, the little snowman would give a shallow bow. It was kind of cute. The most brain-numbing part was the Baby Shark remix blasting on a loop. Emma tugged on his arm. Let's go check it out. Aren't you a little old for that? He grumbled, but he let her lead him over anyway. As they approached, the snowman noticed them. Seeing how closely Emma was holding Lucas's arm, the snowman, who had been about to bow, suddenly froze. Soon, they were standing right in front of it. Hi, can I get 2 grape teas, please? Emma said excitedly, like a little kid, reaching out to stroke the snowman's fluffy arm. She got no response. Lucas, who had been looking at his phone, glanced up and noticed the snowman was staring intently at him. He tilted his head, feeling a strange sense of familiarity. "Hello." Emma tried again, wondering if maybe she had been rude to touch the costume. But it was just so cute, she couldn't resist. The snowman finally nodded and handed Emma her order number. Emma took the slip. Seeing that the mascot still wasn't speaking, she joked, "You're a pretty quiet snowman." Suddenly, Lucas remembered something. Hadn't Lily said she was working here today? He'd been all over the mall and hadn't seen her anywhere. When did Mom say she was coming back?" Lucas asked, his voice a little louder than usual. "Didn't she say the day after tomorrow? Why are you asking all of a sudden?" "Lucas, no reason. Just forgot." After they got their drinks, they turned to leave. "Bye-bye." Emma waved at the cute snowman. She had a soft spot for anything adorable, regardless of who was inside the costume. Lucas glanced back at the snowman, walked over, and gently patted its head before turning to leave with Emma. Whether it was Lily or not, it couldn't hurt to give a little hint. On the off chance that Lily did have some feelings for him, seeing him with another girl might make her sad. He didn't want to hurt the sweet girl's heart. A moment later, Lucas circled back around and stood at a distance, watching the clumsy snowman. "Bro, why are you staring at the mascot?" Emma asked, her mind now completely focused on the movie they were about to see. "Lucas, just thinking," Lucas said, his face unreadable. Emma shrugged and found a bench to sit on while she waited. The snowman continued to work diligently. Unlike the people handing out flyers at other restaurant entrances, this snowman was incredibly shy. After each interaction, it would quickly retreat to the side. Only during the brief moments when no one was passing by would the clumsy-looking figure lean against the wall to rest for a second. Then, as soon as someone approached, it would waddle forward again, endearingly awkward. That had to be Lily. Lucas knew that even with the mall's AC, it had to be sweltering inside that costume. A pang of protectiveness hit him as he pictured Lily's sweet, determined face. Should I go help her? The thought crossed his mind again. He wasn't shy. He didn't care what people thought. But he had a feeling that if he did that, it would do more harm than good. Lily was trying so hard to follow through on their agreement. Lucas smiled faintly. He had to resist the urge to step in. Helping this little sprout stand up straight was going to be a long-term project. A few minutes later, the boy who had been standing as still as a mannequin was gone. At 6 o'clock, the sky had just begun to darken, and the heat of the day had started to fade. After her shift, Lily Thompson held a bubble tea in one hand and massaged her aching neck with the other. She smiled as she looked at the $200 Venmo transfer on her phone, her earnings for the day. Once the ache in her neck subsided a bit, she took out her hair tie, letting her hair fall naturally around her shoulders. Lucas had mentioned he liked it that way. Just then, she noticed her phone was at 2% battery. She saw a portable charger rental station up ahead, but decided against it. It cost a few dollars. Instead, she used the last of her battery to send Lucas a message, and they agreed on a place to meet. Lucas was sitting in a quiet coffee shop on the ground floor of the mall. The place had a grand, Victorian-style decor, with classical music playing softly in the background. The only downside was the dim lighting. A moment later, a long-haired girl walked in hesitantly. Lucas, seated in a corner, waved her over. This was the first time Lily had ever been in a place like this. She'd always imagined them to be incredibly high-end and intimidatingly expensive. It was pricey, but not as bad as she'd thought. "How come you're always early?" she asked, sliding into the seat across from him, a blush on her cheeks. Other than that one time in the library, he was always the one waiting for her. Even when she brought him breakfast, she would try to be as early as possible, but he would always be there already, sitting in their usual spot. It gave her a warm, fuzzy feeling, like she was truly important to him. "Just a habit," Lucas said with a small smile. It was true. It's just that some people appreciated his efforts, and others didn't. He noticed a hair tie on her wrist, and his smile widened. He had only mentioned it casually, but this sweet girl had actually remembered. "I was actually shopping with my sister before this," he said. "It's a shame I didn't run into you." Lily pretended not to know what he was talking about. "Oh, really? We must have just missed each other. I didn't see you either." In reality, she had been watching him until he disappeared from her sight. She had no idea he had circled back to watch her. Lucas saw right through her terrible lie, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Yeah, what a shame. He watched the nervous girl in front of him, now completely certain she had been the one in the snowman costume. His gaze made Lily uncomfortable. She quickly pulled out the bag she was carrying to change the subject. She carefully placed it on the table and said in a voice as soft as a whisper, I bought you a bubble tea." Lucas looked surprised. His intense stare was too much for her. She had tried to distract him, but now she felt even more flustered. She quickly looked down, unable to meet his eyes. He didn't hold back. He took the drink, then paused. You didn't get one for yourself? I finished mine on the way here. I wasn't sure what flavor you liked, so I just picked one. I hope you like it. It took all of her courage to get the words out. Her ears were burning, and she bowed her head even lower. I love it, Lucas said with a gentle smile that made her heart flutter. The handsome boy in front of her, with his soft smile, felt like the only ray of light in her dark world. She loved watching him smile. That's good. Lily let out a sigh of relief, the exhaustion from her long day seeming to melt away. It was the first time she had ever bought a drink for a guy, and she'd been unbelievably nervous. Just as Lucas was about to tease her further, his phone rang. He glanced at it, annoyed. It was Aaron. What's up? He asked, his voice flat. This was terrible timing. Aaron's voice was frantic. Lily's missing. Her phone's off. I can't reach her. Her phone is off, so you called me? You? Oh, right. Why did I call you? Aaron sounded thoroughly confused. Lucas smiled at the curious-looking Lily and put the phone on speaker. Kidding. I'm with her right now. Her phone died. Oh, thank God. I knew that idiot would be too cheap to rent a portable charger. Then, Aaron seemed to remember something else and shouted, You too. Get a room. Seriously. Lily's face flushed with guilt, and she silently vowed to buy Aaron a gift. After a moment, she looked up at Lucas. What did you want to talk to me about? She remembered he had a reason for asking her here. Even though she would have been happy just to sit with him, she didn't want him to think she'd forgotten. My parents are looking for a tutor for my little sister, Lucas said, leaving out the part where he had already paved the entire way for her. With this stubbornly sweet girl, he had to take things one step at a time. I'm not the right person for that. Lily immediately refused. There was no way she could do it. She had tried tutoring once, but her shyness had been so debilitating that the family had replaced her after just one trial lesson. She hadn't looked for a tutoring job since. It's fine. It's my sister. What are you afraid of? It's better than tutoring a stranger, right? Seeing her shake her head like a bobblehead, Lucas leaned forward and gently pressed his index finger to her forehead, stopping the motion. Remember our deal? He asked, his eyes fixed on hers. Lily blinked. His steady gaze calmed her nerves. After a few seconds, she finally made a decision. I can try. That's more like it. Lucas sat back, satisfied, and took a sip of his coffee. So, my parents said you can do a trial lesson first. If they're happy with it, you'll teach her every weekend, 2 hours a night, for $40 an hour. That's too much. Lucas nearly choked on his coffee. For a second, his brain short-circuited. What did you just say? Too much? He asked, his face a mask of disbelief. Is she insane? You're the one getting paid. What do you mean, too much? Lily, are you for real? After his coughing fit subsided, he started laughing, a mixture of amusement and exasperation. Lily, embarrassed by his laughter, mumbled, But I'm not good enough. I won't be able to teach her well. If you weren't smart, you wouldn't have gotten into this university. Lucas pulled out his phone and showed her the rates other UW students were charging for tutoring. See? All from our school. The listings were all for $50 an hour or more. Experienced tutors charged even more, and parents were still clamoring to hire them. When it came to their children's education, parents never hesitated to spend money. Seeing that she was still shaking her head, Lucas tried a different tactic. Fine, you're being ridiculous. So how about $25 an hour? That's my final offer. He couldn't believe this. The roles were completely reversed. The tutor wasn't trying to raise her price. She was trying to lower it. He never seen anything like it. Could it be a little cheaper? Lily bit her lip and peeked up at him, afraid she would see an angry expression on his face. Thankfully, he just looked exasperated. Is 20 okay? $20 an hour still felt too high to her. If she taught 8 times a month, that would be 16 hours for a total of $320. That was more than she made at the barbecue restaurant. How about you do it for free? Lucas said sarcastically. Free is okay too, she said, completely serious, not catching his sarcasm at all. But I'd have to do it when I'm not working my other jobs. It was Lucas's sister, after all. As long as she didn't mind her teaching, she was willing to help him, no matter how tired she was. Lucas fell silent, just staring at her. Lily couldn't read his expression. Please don't be mad, she said, her voice timid. When he didn't speak, she didn't dare look up, only sneaking quick glances to gauge his mood. After a moment, Lucas slowly got up, moved to the seat next to her, and started ruffling her hair. Lily didn't resist, just squeezed her eyes shut. He was a little rough at first, but then his movements became gentle as he smoothed her hair back into place. He let out a deep sigh and a helpless smile. Fine. 20, it is. Lily thought about the energetic girl she had met that afternoon and felt a growing sense of dread. She was completely out of her depth with people that outgoing. Is it your sister? What grade is she in? She asked quietly. Yeah, my sister. She's a junior in high school. Oh, your sister. For some reason, hearing that made her feel a little happy, and her mood lifted. Why don't you teach her yourself? You're so smart. The compliment sent a pleasant jolt through Lucas. No guy could ever resist being called smart by a girl. None. Keep going. If you're good at compliments, don't hold back, he said, a huge grin spreading across his face. Am I really that smart? You really are, Lily mumbled, looking down. You know so much. And you always seem to have everything under control. It makes people feel like they can rely on you. She secretly pursed her lips, too shy to add that he was also incredibly handsome. Is that so? Lucas said, a playful glint in his eye. I had no idea you thought so highly of me. Lily nodded gently. In her heart, her impression of him was 100 times better than that. Just then, Aaron's call came through again. Where are you guys hanging out? Spill the details. I'm so bored at home, I'm going to die. Her tone made it clear she was digging for gossip, not even trying to hide it. Hello? What did you say? Hello? I think I'm losing you. The signal's bad. I'll call you back. Lucas pressed the end call button and set his phone aside. A moment later, it rang again. Without even looking, he handed the phone to Lily. Probably Aaron again. Here, you take it. I'm going to the restroom. Watching him walk away, Lily subconsciously answered the call. Hello. Lucas, your sister said you ditched her and ran off. Emily's voice came through the line. She stopped mid-sentence when she heard the different voice on the other end. Oh, who is this? Lily gasped and slapped a hand over her mouth. She glanced at the caller ID and saw it was Lucas's mom. Her heart leaped in her throat. This was somehow even more terrifying than talking to Lucas himself. She desperately wanted to hang up, but she knew that would leave a bad impression. Forcing herself to stay calm, she brought the phone back to her ear. Hello? Emily asked again, her curiosity piqued. She could hear the girl's nervous, shallow breathing and softened her tone. Lily's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Can you hear me? The voice on the other end asked. Lily finally managed to squeeze out a sound. I can't hear you. Emily's voice was warm and melodic. Based on the girl's tone, she could already guess her personality. A sweet, honest girl. That boy of hers was up to something. And you are? Emily asked gently, not wanting to frighten her. And Mrs. Carter, hello. My name is Lily Thompson. Lily took another deep breath. The seconds stretched into an eternity. I'm a friend of Lucas's. He went to the restroom. He's not back yet. She clutched the hem of her shirt, her voice trembling. After finally getting the words out, she felt like her heart was going to beat out of her chest. The thought that this was Lucas's mother made her even more nervous. She was terrified of saying the wrong thing. Emily smiled. Her accusatory tone was completely gone. You're Lucas's friend? That's such a lovely name. Lily could never have guessed that Emily was just as nervous. This was the first time she had ever spoken to a girl Lucas knew. Scarlett didn't count. She had watched that girl grow up. Thank you, ma'am. Lily practically whispered into the table. Well, I won't disturb you too. I was just calling to chat with Lucas. It wasn't anything important. Okay. Lily waited quietly for her to hang up. The moment she heard the click, she let out a huge sigh of relief, feeling like she could breathe again. When Lucas returned, he found Lily with red-rimmed eyes, looking up at him pitifully. He was startled and immediately sat down beside her. What's wrong? The girl pointed at the phone. That call. It was from your mom. Is that all? You had me worried. Lucas suddenly froze. Wait, my mom. Lily nodded, still replaying the conversation in her head, tried to remember if she had said anything wrong. What did you guys talk about? Lucas couldn't stay calm anymore. He had planned to introduce Lily to his parents for the tutoring job, but this was different. A planned introduction and getting caught were two completely different things. After Lily recounted the conversation word for word, Lucas felt a little relieved. Your flyer job is daily pay, right? He asked, changing the subject. MHM. Her voice was still trembling, clearly not over the shock. This was all a bit too much for her. Then you should take the next 2 days off. It'll give you time to prepare for the lesson. Okay. Lucas rested his chin on his hand, looking at the girl whose face was as red as a cherry tomato. I have a feeling you're not going to listen to me, but you need to get your priorities straight, Lily. If you do a good job with this, you can make in 1 hour what you make in an entire day. His expression turned serious. Then you won't have to hand out flyers anymore. It's too exhausting. And once you get more experience as a tutor, I can find you other jobs. Then you can quit the barbecue restaurant, too. That way, I won't have to worry about people bullying you when I'm not around. Even in her flustered state, Lily could hear the sincerity and concern in his voice. The last sentence pierced right through her heart. A mist formed in her eyes, blurring her vision. For the first time, she knew what it felt like to have someone truly care about her, and the happiness was overwhelming. It was so overwhelming that tears began to roll down her cheeks, forming precious, fragile gems that shattered into tiny splashes on the table. All her life, she had been bullied more times than she could count. But someone who would worry about her, who would want to protect her, that person had only just appeared. In the blink of an eye, it was the last day of a long weekend, the day of Lily's first tutoring session. Emma had to be back at her school by 6, so they had moved the lesson to the afternoon. Lily had obediently taken Lucas's advice and hadn't gone to her flyer job, so she readily agreed. That afternoon, the Carter family sat on the sofa, waiting to meet this mysterious friend of Lucas's. Emily had a strong suspicion who it was, but she wasn't completely sure. Robert and Emily chatted about the neighborhood gossip, while Emma showed no signs of pre-lesson nerves. Her eyes were bright with anticipation. Clearly, she was more interested in meeting the girl than in actually being tutored. "All right, just a heads up," Lucas said, his tone unusually serious. "She's very, very shy, doesn't talk much, so try not to overwhelm her with questions." His parents, knowing this was out of character for him, both nodded in understanding. "You should have offered to pick her up," Emily chided. "I did." "She refused," Lucas said, taking a bite of watermelon. "She's as stubborn as a mule." Otherwise, he thought, I wouldn't have had to go to such great lengths to trick her into this. The whole affair was only costing his own wallet. Bribing Emma had been expensive, and now Lily's salary would be coming out of his allowance too. Still, it hurt less than buying Emma that necklace. After a moment, Emily couldn't hold back any longer. "Is it the girl who answered my call?" "Yeah, I was with her to talk about this," Lucas admitted freely. There was no point in hiding it now. He was more surprised his mom had managed to wait this long to ask. Emily nodded knowingly. "And here I thought you were interested in Scarlet. You followed her around like a puppy dog your whole childhood." Lucas shot a death glare at Emma, who was sitting beside him. She quickly shook her head, frantically signaling her innocence. Seeing his sister's reaction, he knew she hadn't been the one to snitch. Great. So his entire family knew about his crush on Scarlet all along, and he thought he'd been so discreet. The more Emma thought about it, the stranger the situation became. She considered messaging Scarlet to ask what was going on. For years, she had genuinely believed Scarlet would be her future sister-in-law. Not only was Scarlet stunningly beautiful, but she had always been incredibly generous, buying Emma expensive gifts without a second thought. The idea of her as a sister-in-law had been a very appealing one. And now, her territory was being invaded, and there was no response from the other side. She decided to send a quick, coded message to her brother. They could communicate secretly right in front of their parents. "Emma, what really happened between you and Scarlet? Why did you stop chasing her?" "Lucas, simple. She doesn't like me. She rejected me when I confessed. So what's the point?" Emma froze, then slowly put her phone away. She looked at her brother's expressionless face. She had never considered that possibility. She'd always assumed it was just Scarlet's thunder way of playing hard to get. After all, she had witnessed her brother's devotion for years. She had never even considered dating because she'd never met a boy as dedicated as her brother. And Scarlet didn't like him? That had to be a joke. Knock, knock. A very light, hesitant knock came from the door. Before Lucas could get up, Emma had already darted to the entrance. The sudden movement startled Lily, who was not at all prepared. Emma chirped, grabbing Lily's arm and pulling her inside. Lily's long hair was down, and she had clearly picked out a clean outfit for the occasion. Her unadorned, natural beauty was captivating. Emma's maneuver completely derailed the introduction Lucas had planned. "Mom, Dad," he said, improvising, "this is my friend, Lily Thompson." He turned to the girl, who was staring at the floor, and waited for her to speak. He had rehearsed a script with her to prevent this exact situation. The plan was for her to say hello, introduce herself, mention her excellent high school grades, and then drop the bomb that she would only charge $20 an hour. But Emma had thrown a wrench in his plans. As long as Lily stuck to the script, it would be fine. "Come in, have a seat," Emily said warmly, seeing how timid the girl was. She gently took Lily's hand and led her to the sofa. "Such a pretty name, and such a pretty girl," she said to Robert. The compliment only made Lily more nervous. She sat with her hands placed neatly on her lap, her head bowed low. She risked a quick glance at Lucas. Seeing his gentle smile, she mustered all her strength and lifted her head, like a small blade of grass straightening up after being watered. Lucas's smile widened. Then he remembered the plan and started giving her frantic, meaningful looks. Lily nodded, understanding perfectly, Hello, Annie. Hello, Uncle. My name is Lily Thompson. In her nervousness, she had completely forgotten that Lucas had just introduced her. She was simply reciting her lines. Lucas froze. Emma, who had just taken a sip of water, nearly choked. Emily blinked, then smiled and patted Lily's head, her eyes full of affection. I know, dear. No one could dislike a sweet, well-behaved girl. After that phone call, Emily already had a good idea of what Lily was like, and meeting her in person confirmed it. This girl was pure and genuine, a rare find in this day and age. And most importantly, as she held her hand, she could feel that Lily's skin wasn't soft and delicate like Emma's. This was a girl who had worked hard. Even though they had just met, her heart already ached for her. Lily, are you thirsty? Here, have some watermelon. If you don't like it, we have other things. Do you want to stay for dinner? What would you like to eat? I'll have Lucas run out and get it. I'm a pretty good cook, you know. Emily's warmth was almost overwhelming. Emma and Robert watched, amused. Only Lucas was dumbfounded. Lily seemed to have infiltrated the enemy camp in a completely unprecedented way. The whole scene felt bizarrely like a meet-the-parents dinner. Soon, Lily couldn't take it anymore and shot Lucas a desperate, pleading look. The sweet girl was learning to ask for help. Lucas quickly changed the subject. Mom, she's here to tutor. If you keep chatting, the clock is ticking. You'll have to pay for this time, too. And no, that's not necessary, Lily quickly interjected, waving her hands. You talk too much. Robert, look at your son. Emily scolded gently, but her opinion of Lily went up another notch. He's your son, Robert deflected. Your son. As Lucas was passed back and forth like a hot potato, Emma giggled. She often got the same treatment, but for now, it was his turn. Listening to the light-hearted banter, Lily felt a pang of longing. She hadn't experienced this kind of warm family atmosphere since her father passed away. Lucas immediately sensed her mood shift. He speared a piece of watermelon with a toothpick and handed it to her, distracting her. Lily sniffled and took it. Mom, he said, if you keep talking, Emma's going to be late for school. Emily pointed at her daughter. Emma, take Lily to your room. Okay. Watching the closed door of his sister's room, Lucas stretched out on the sofa. The hardest part was over. Emma could be a pain, but she would never give Lily a hard time. The tutoring job was in the bag. Is her family not well off? Emily asked in a low voice, her heart aching. A girl with calluses on her hands at this age was a rare sight, at least in Seattle. Yeah, Lucas said, not hiding anything. He slowly explained Lily's situation. Hearing that Lily worked multiple jobs and could only afford the cheapest meals for lunch, Emily's eyes welled up. This was the environment that had raised her son, the kind of son who would step up for someone in need. The living room was quiet for a moment. Robert still hadn't said anything. Emily wiped her eyes. Lucas. He turned, curious about her serious tone. If you dare to hurt her, I will disown you. What? The family sat in the living room for the entire 2-hour session, not wanting to disturb them. The time passed quickly. The door opened on the dot. Lucas looked up to see Emma, shamelessly clinging to Lily's arm. Lily, how is your English so good? She gushed, her voice loud enough for everyone in the living room to hear. If I had met you earlier, my English would have been perfect by now. Seeing the satisfied smiles on his parents' faces, Lucas smiled to himself. He didn't know how good of a teacher Lily actually was, but based on Emma's performance, the necklace had been a worthy investment. After Lily repeatedly declined their dinner invitation, Emily gave up and told Lucas to drive her home. I was already planning on it, he said, getting up and heading for the door. Take your dad's car. I know. Lucas grabbed the car keys. He saw Emma was still attached to Lily. What's going on? When did you two get so close? Emma rolled her eyes at him. None of your business. Then she gave Lily one last hug. Lily, if my brother is threatening you, just blink. I'll save you. What? No. He's very nice to me, Lily said earnestly. Seeing Lily's slightly shy expression, Emma wished for a moment that she were a boy. Lucas flicked Emma's forehead good-naturedly and led Lily out the door. As the door closed behind them, they stood in silence, waiting for the elevator. Lily clutched her canvas bag, a complicated look on her face. What's wrong? Lucas asked, ever sensitive to her moods. I thought about it all yesterday, but I couldn't figure out what to bring. It was my first time visiting, and I came empty-handed. Lucas couldn't help but smile. It doesn't matter. You were here as a tutor. If you'd brought a gift, it really would have seemed like you were the girlfriend coming to meet the parents. He leaned in close, meeting her gaze. I see. So you're that eager to marry into my family. Lily quickly turned her face away, her breathing becoming shallow. That's not what I meant. Was my sister behaved? He asked. Yes, she was very serious, Lily said quietly, shouldering her bag. She did make me chat with her for a while before she started studying, though. What did you talk about? She made me promise not to tell you. Lucas's face fell. Are we not best friends anymore? The girl nodded slightly. So, are you going to tell me or not? He asked, his expression still serious. Don't be mad. I'll tell you. Lily's voice grew anxious, and she quickly confessed. She asked us if. Before she could finish, Lucas placed his index finger gently on her soft lips. Okay, just knowing you're willing to tell me is enough, he said with a soft laugh. What you two talked about is your secret. You don't have to tell me something you don't want to. Lily blinked, confused, but I'm willing to tell you anything. Down in the garage, Lucas started the car. Lily sat obediently in the passenger seat. That was, of course, after Lucas had insisted. Like he was taking care of a child, Lucas pulled the seatbelt across her chest and clicked it into place. Lily sat perfectly still, afraid that any sudden movement might lead to an awkward touch. She stole glances at him, a strange feeling bubbling up inside her. Why so nervous? Don't you trust my driving? Lucas asked with a smile as he backed out of the space. Then he froze. Even in her loose-fitting t-shirt, the seatbelt pulled taut against her, outlining the graceful curves of her figure. She shifted uncomfortably, trying to make it less obvious. Lucas cleared his throat. All right, where to? I'll put in the GPS. Just the supermarket near my house is fine. I need to buy some groceries. Got it. Half an hour later, the car pulled up in front of the supermarket. Watching Lily unbuckle her seatbelt, Lucas felt a pang of regret. It had been a long drive. He couldn't imagine how many buses she must have had to transfer between to get to his house. He should have insisted on picking her up. They walked into the supermarket together. Lily grabbed a basket, and Lucas followed quietly behind her as she browsed the aisles. It felt new, different. It felt domestic. What are you getting? He asked. She thought for a moment. Some bitter melon, I think. I don't like bitter melon, he said, shamelessly continuing his role play. The sweet girl didn't realize he was teasing. She just blinked up at him. What would you like to eat? Lucas smiled. I'm just messing with you. It's not like I'm coming over for dinner. Lily's face flushed as she realized her mistake. She turned back to her shopping. Lucas was always teasing her, though she had to admit she kind of liked it. She picked out a few vegetables and a fish to treat herself. With each item she chose, Lucas would ask her how she planned to cook it. She never got annoyed, patiently answering every question. They wandered like that for a while, but eventually, Lucas's interest waned. Guys in supermarkets just didn't mix. His attention drifted to the kiddie rides by the entrance. They might be childish for an elementary schooler, but for a college student, they were just right. He waited there while Lily paid. When she came out, he took the plastic bags from her without a word. All right, let's go. I'll walk you to your door. They had only taken a few steps when he felt a gentle tap on his shoulder. He turned around, curious. Lily was holding out a bottle of Pepsi. Lucas was stunned. He couldn't believe she remembered that, too. Not just that he liked soda, but even the specific brand. Thanks. It's room temperature. I hope that's okay. Lily said, looking down. You have a sensitive stomach. You should drink less cold things, okay? Whatever you say. They walked into a dark alleyway, the surrounding concrete jungle blocking out most of the sunlight. After a short walk, they arrived at an old, run-down apartment building. Lily's apartment was on the ground floor. Unlike Lucas's building, which had only 2 apartments per floor, this one had at least 5 or 6 doors lined up in a row. As Lucas was looking around, he heard a loud, angry voice. Don't you have a daughter? Call her back here to pack your things. After that, you can get out. But we still have half a year left on the lease. And you can see my legs. It's not easy for me to move. Please, can't you just give us some time? I've given you plenty of time. I'm giving you a full refund for the remaining rent. And I'm giving you a few days to move out. What more do you want? This is my house. When I tell you to get out, you get out. A heavy-set, middle-aged woman with sunglasses and curly hair was screaming at a woman in a wheelchair. In stark contrast to the landlady's affluent appearance, the woman in the wheelchair looked frail and exhausted, her face etched with helplessness. She couldn't even stand up to defend herself. Mom! Lily rushed forward and took her mother's hand, her voice trembling. Sophia Thompson recognized her daughter's touch and came back to her senses. She looked up and saw the unfamiliar boy standing beside her daughter, which surprised her even more. The landlady. She wants us to move out immediately, she explained. The middle-aged woman saw that Lily had brought a young man with her, but it didn't temper her aggression. Don't you try to play the victim with me. This is my property. You think you can just live here for a while and claim it as your own. But the lease isn't up yet. We weren't prepared for this. We haven't had time to look for a new place, Sophia pleaded. Lucas listened for a few moments, then frowned. Do you have a contract? The landlady froze. Sophia and Lily looked at him, startled. Having lived in a small town for so long, they weren't familiar with these things. They didn't understand the legal weight of a contract. They had just signed their names where they were told. A contract? Lily finally remembered. When you rented the place, did you sign a contract? Lucas asked, as he gently pushed the wheelchair into a shaded spot. Yes. Get it, Lucas said. What's this got to do with you? The woman snapped, certain she had never seen him before. Lucas looked at her calmly. This is my mother-in-law. What do you think it has to do with me? The woman was momentarily speechless. Seeing the bag of groceries in his hand, she was even more convinced. Lily quickly ran inside and came back with the contract. Lucas took it and scanned it carefully. The lease clearly had over 6 months left. Based on the template, it had been handled by a real estate agent. Since the agent was nowhere to be seen, he figured the landlady had found a new tenant willing to pay more and was trying to bully a mother and daughter she thought were easy targets. He couldn't imagine what would have happened to the sweet, naive Lily if she hadn't met him. Fine, we can move out, he said, his eyes still on the contract. Lily and Sophia looked at him in shock. But first, he continued slowly, you'll have to pay the penalty for breaking the contract. It says right here, 30% of the total lease amount. The woman's face twisted in rage. What does a little kid like you know? Lucas was unfazed. Ma'am, I'm pre-law, he said with a cool smile. You can bully them because they don't know any better, but that's not going to work with me. He handed the contract back to Lily. The fact that you're even trying this tells me you don't understand the law either. Or maybe you just thought they were easy targets. He softened his tone. I suggest you reconsider. We can take this to court if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it. One of my professors at UW is a pretty big name in the legal community. The lawyer you hire might even be one of his former students. You're looking for more money, and we understand that. But we have our own difficulties. Can't we just be reasonable? If we go to court, you'll spend a lot of money, and you might not even win. Why go through all that trouble? Just you wait. When the lease is up, you're out. I'll rent it to anyone but you. The woman spat, before turning and storming away, all her previous bluster gone. The commotion ended as quickly as it had begun, leaving only the quiet chirping of birds. Lily replayed Lucas's words in her head. They sounded familiar. It was the same mix of firm and gentle he had used that night when he'd saved her. He was amazing. No wonder she was so easily flustered by him, so easily tricked into wearing that costume. Wait a minute. Had he just called her mom his mother-in-law? Her face turned beet red. She stared at the ground, too embarrassed to speak, but managed to squeeze out a thank you. Are you okay, ma'am? The next time someone like that comes around, don't let them push you around, Lucas said to Sophia with a smile. I'm fine. Thank you so much, Sophia said, looking at the boy with immense gratitude. It was nothing. Lily has helped me out a lot, too. Are you Lucas? Sophia asked tentatively. Lucas looked surprised. You know me, ma'am? Sophia smiled, the wrinkles around her eyes crinkling. My daughter talks about you all the time. You really are a good kid. Hardly. My mom wants to kick me out on a daily basis. Lucas handed the grocery bag to Lily. I've got to go. If anything else happens, call me. I'll be right over. Lily looked up at him, the words to ask him to stay catching in her throat. She could only watch his retreating back, her hand reaching out slightly. Stay for dinner, Sophia said. You should taste my Lily's cooking. Lucas turned around and saw Lily's outstretched hand. He paused, then a small smile spread across his face. Okay. Both mother and daughter were happy that Lucas agreed to stay, but also nervous. He was the first boy Lily had ever brought home, and their apartment was so modest. Lily opened the door, and Lucas pushed the wheelchair inside. The ground floor apartment was dim, the space cramped. From the small living room, you could see right into the tiny kitchen. Next to it was the only bedroom. Across from that, a small door led to the bathroom. But despite the lack of space, the apartment was spotless. Lucas, please have a seat, Sophia said, flustered. We don't have an air conditioner. I'm so sorry. You must be uncomfortable. In her eyes, all city kids were born with a silver spoon in their mouths. But Lucas wasn't picky at all. He pulled up a stool and sat down next to Sophia without a hint of condescension. Don't say that, ma'am. He then got up to help Lily with the fan. I've gone back to my dad's hometown to harvest corn before. I'm tougher than I look. He sat back down and chatted with Sophia while Lily, her face still burning from his earlier mother-in-law comment, tied up her hair and disappeared into the kitchen. Are you and Lily in the same class? Sophia asked. Technically, I'm her senior. I'm a junior, he answered. How old are you? 21. 2 years older than Lily, Sophia calculated quietly. She reached for a glass of water on the table, but before she could move her wheelchair, Lucas had already handed it to her. He then sat back down as if nothing had happened. He wasn't trying to impress her. It was just natural. Sophia felt a warmth spread through her chest. She looked toward the kitchen with a bittersweet smile. Lily must be a lot of trouble for you. She can be so stubborn and naive sometimes. She sighed and pulled a photograph from a drawer, showing to Lucas. In the faded picture, a little girl was smiling brightly, ready to face the world with joy and curiosity. She used to be so lively when she was little, Sophia said. After her father passed away and I became paralyzed, she just changed. Lucas was silent for a moment. She'll find her way back, he said, his eyes full of conviction. As Sophia looked at him, his gaze firm and reassuring, he noticed a handmade bracelet in the drawer. He picked it up curiously. It looked very similar to one he had in a drawer at home. She made that herself when she was little, Sophia said proudly. Really? She's very talented. So this was a popular trend back then, he thought. Lily had one too. It made sense. Childhood fads came and went. One week everyone was playing with spinning tops. The next it was yo-yos. He smiled to himself, dismissing the fleeting thought that it could be more than a coincidence. The world wasn't that small. He glanced toward the kitchen, feeling guilty for just sitting there. Ma'am, you rest here. I'm going to go help. No, you're a guest. Sophia protested. I won't be a guest if I come here often, right? Lucas said, putting the stool back. If you don't let me help, you're saying I'm not welcome back. Sophia couldn't argue with that. She just smiled as he walked toward the kitchen. The tiny kitchen felt like a sauna. The girl, her hair tied back in a ponytail and an apron around her waist, was so focused on chopping vegetables that she didn't even notice him come in. The sight of her, so diligent and domestic, made Lucas's heart skip a beat. It was just like in the car, and then at the supermarket. It felt like they were building a life together. What are you making? He asked, stepping up behind her. She jumped, startled, and stumbled backward right into his arms. He froze, his arms instinctively wrapping around her. She felt soft and warm, and even though she was a little sweaty, she smelled wonderful. The moment was fleeting. As soon as Lily regained her composure, she straightened up, her face beet red, and tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear. You took advantage of me again, Lucas teased with a smile. You'll have to pay me back next time. To his surprise, she turned to face him, her eyes misty and her voice full of grievance. You broke your promise. When did I break a promise? He asked, confused. That time, I only leaned on you for a little while, and you said I could pay you back, but then you slept on my shoulder for the whole afternoon. And you didn't like that? That's not the point. So did you like it or not? Lily turned back to her cutting board and continued chopping cabbage. After a long moment, she finally whispered a single word, so quiet that if Lucas hadn't been listening intently, he would have missed it. Yes. Lucas's heart hammered in his chest. This girl was lethal. Did she have a 100% critical hit rate? He started washing vegetables to distract himself. Thank you again for today, she said after a moment. It was nothing, he said dismissively, finding a plate for the vegetables. But then her voice caught, thick with emotion. Not just for today. For last time too. Lucas sighed. I suggest you stop thanking me. She looked up at him, her beautiful, watery eyes full of confusion. Why? Because no matter how many times something like this happens, I will always be there to help you. A gentle smile touched his lips. If you thank me every time, you'll get tired. The girl sniffled quietly, her vision too blurry to see the cutting board. You said before that you don't like fish, so I didn't make it. Is there anything you'd like to eat? I'll make it for you. You already washed the cabbage. I want your sautéed cabbage. Anything else? Barbecue wings. Lily wiped her hands on her apron. I'll go buy some chicken wings. Lucas quickly grabbed her arm. I was just kidding. I'll love anything you make. She looked up at him, her eyes searching his. Really? He nodded. She returned to her post at the cutting board. How do you always manage to talk people down like that? Because people are jerks, he said. They'll keep pushing you if they think you're an easy target. But if you come out strong, then give them an easy way out, they'll usually take it. He was suddenly reminded of his childhood. When I was in elementary school, I was short, and a couple of bullies used to pick on me. So every time they came after me, I fought back. Even if I knew I couldn't win, I would just pick one of them and go all out. Eventually, they went off to find someone who wouldn't fight back. Lily listened intently, as if taking notes. Then she realized he had stopped talking. She looked over and saw that he had leaned in close, his lips near her ear. You don't need to think about these things, he whispered. I'm here. The cool evening breeze felt wonderful after the stuffy apartment. Lily felt like she was in a dream, one she never wanted to wake from. Just then, Lucas's phone rang, startling her. Was it his mom, calling him home? It's my mom, Lucas said, answering the call. Hey mom, what's up? What do you mean, what's up? You were supposed to drop someone off, not disappear with them, Emily said, her voice sharp. Lily, standing close by, could hear every word and gripped the spatula in her hand tighter. Sorry, forgot to report back to HQ. I'm having dinner at her place. Requesting permission, over. Permission granted. Your dad and I are going out for barbecue, so you're on your own for dinner anyway. Hearing that, Lucas felt a knot form in his stomach. The girl beside him just continued to cook. Lucas watched her back, the memory of holding her still fresh in his mind. Soon, several dishes were on the table. A fragrant fish soup, a plate of sautéed cabbage, and a dish of eggplant parmesan, which Lucas had made. For Lily, it was a feast. The three of them sat around the small dining table. Lily grew more and more nervous. She had never imagined something like this, having dinner with a boy and her mother. She kept her head down, afraid of what her mom might ask. The memory of their close encounter in the kitchen still made her blush. Here, ma'am, try some of mine, Lucas said, pushing the dish he had made towards Sophia rather than serving it for her. He was enthusiastic, but not overbearing. Oh, you, Sophia chided gently, but she was smiling. She took a bite and nodded in approval. You can cook, too? Lily snuck a bite, then another. Lucas suppressed a laugh. It was almost comical, thinking back to all the effort he had put into learning to cook Scarlett's favorite dishes just to please her. Here was someone who loved whatever he made, no matter what it was. This was his first time tasting Lily's cooking, aside from her oatmeal. It was delicious, and she had clearly adjusted the flavors to his liking. This sweet girl had remembered every casual comment he'd ever made about his preferences. You should eat more, he told her. She nodded. Then she noticed he had only put a couple of spoonfuls of fish soup over his rice. You really don't like fish? Nope. Why not? Too many bones. So you like boneless fish? Nope. Lily was confused. Why? Boneless fish doesn't taste as good. Lily had never been so speechless. Sophia watched them chat back and forth, a gentle smile on her face. This, she thought, was the life her daughter was supposed to have. Lily had been repressed for far too long. A girl her age should be experiencing her first crush, laughing and teasing with a boy. And she had to admit, the more she saw of Lucas, the more she liked him. Especially how he had instinctively pushed her wheelchair into the shade earlier. That wasn't for show. That was genuine kindness. Lucas felt like he was eating as fast as he could, but his bowl was never empty. He looked up and saw Lily piling more food onto his plate. When she noticed him watching, she froze for a second, then continued as if nothing had happened. You eat too, he said, exasperated. She had been so focused on him that her own bowl of rice was untouched. But Lily was as stubborn as a mule, continuing to serve him food and refill his soup. Every time he tried to refuse, he would see her wide, pleading eyes, and his resolve would crumble. Wait a minute, he thought. Is she figuring out my weaknesses? A little while later, he was so full he couldn't take another bite. He had to stop her from force-feeding him. At the dining hall, he could tease her all he wanted, but here, in front of her mom, this was her home turf. You don't like my cooking? She asked, her voice small. I love it. I wish I could eat it every day, he blurted out without thinking. Well, you can have her make it for you every day in the future, Sophia joked. Mom, Lily cried, mortified. Lucas, you must be getting ready for your internship soon, right? Or are you thinking about grad school? Sophia asked. Lucas thought for a moment. I haven't decided yet. I feel a little lost. He glanced at Lily, then gave a bitter smile. I wasted too much time before. I never really thought about my future. It's okay, Sophia said, her smile gentle despite her weary expression. You're still young. Lucas's lips curved into a faint smile. His classmates were all busy, applying to grad school, looking for jobs, starting their own businesses. He couldn't afford to wait any longer. He was young, yes, but the time for carefree fun was over. The thought filled him with a sense of unease. The tides of real life were rolling in, and he wasn't sure if he was ready. After dinner and doing the dishes, they chatted for a while longer. By the time Lucas realized it was almost 9, he quickly said his goodbyes before his mom could call. Lily insisted on walking him out. The once dark alley was now illuminated by a series of streetlights, casting their long shadows on the uneven pavement. They walked side by side, slowly, in comfortable silence. Are you unhappy? Lily finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. She racked her brain, trying to think if she had done something to upset him. You can tell, he said, feigning surprise. Do you want some candy? She asked. Yes. He unwrapped a piece of fruit candy and popped it into his mouth, letting the sweetness dissolve on his tongue. I'm not unhappy, he said, his voice slightly muffled by the candy. I'm just not ready to grow up. This time she understood. Don't worry. You're so capable. And what? He asked, turning to look at her. And I'll be with you. They walked in silence again. Lily found herself wondering why. Even though Lucas was taller than her, she never felt like she had to struggle to keep up with him. She slowed her pace slightly. Lucas stayed right beside her. She slowed down a little more. He still didn't walk ahead, remaining just a half step behind. "Why do you always walk a little slower than me?" she asked. She loved asking him random questions. He seemed to know everything, and he was always willing to answer. Even his teasing answers were fun to listen to. "This way, you're always in my line of sight," he said, his voice soft. He stopped walking. "It makes it easier to handle any surprises." He smiled. "You should head back now." Lily stood there until his shadow disappeared completely under the streetlights before she reluctantly turned and walked away. The next morning, Lucas was back on campus, heading straight for the drama club's rehearsal space to meet Lily and enjoy the breakfast that was now his exclusive perk. He was starting to realize he was seeing a lot more of the sweet, clumsy girl lately, and he didn't mind it one bit. But today was different. Erin was there, too. I swear, the day after I got home, my mom was already trying to kick me out. Can you believe her? Erin complained, her cheeks puffed out. Before Memorial Day weekend, she was calling me practically every day, begging me to come home. Then I actually do, and suddenly she can't stand the sight of me. If I'm on my phone, all I do is stare at my phone. If I watch TV, all I do is watch TV. I figured, fine, I'll help around the house. Then she complains I didn't mop the floor right. It's infuriating. Just you watch. Right before summer break, she'll be texting about how much she misses me, asking when I'm coming home, and the whole cycle will start all over again. Lucas quietly ate his oatmeal, listening to her rant. Lily, unsure how to comfort her friend, just gently held her hand. "Please, you think that's bad?" Lucas said with a look of disdain after he finished his oatmeal. Erin shot him a glare, thinking, how can this guy be so heartless? There's no one on earth more miserable than me right now. Just then, Lucas spoke again, his voice carrying the weary tone of a seasoned veteran. "Welcome to the life of a college student. You'll get used to it. My mom was blowing up my phone before the break, too. I was so excited I drove home first thing in the morning, only to find my parents had just finished packing their suitcases for a vacation." He clapped his hands together, then spread them wide. "Without me." Erin burst out laughing. Beside her, Lily stared at him, stunned, clearly not expecting that twist. "My sadness hasn't disappeared," Erin said through her laughter. "It has simply been transferred to you." Seeing someone even more pathetic than herself had instantly cheered her up. True happiness, it seemed, was built on the suffering of others. As she was laughing, she saw Lucas extend his right hand toward Lily, his expression earnest as he whispered, "I need comforting, too. So can you hold my hand?" Smack! Before Lily could react, Erin slapped his hand away. Lily watched Lucas shake his hand in pain, a slight purse of her lips betraying her concern. Erin caught the look and stared in disbelief. "No way. Are you actually feeling sorry for him?" She whipped her head back to Lucas. "What have you done to my Lily? She's mine. You can't do this." Lucas shrugged. "I'd advise you to mind your own business." "You too. I can't stand it." After a little while, Lucas left for class. The university, in its infinite wisdom, had scheduled a mandatory entrepreneurship course for third-year students. It involved lectures, group projects, and a final presentation. They claimed it was voluntary, but you weren't allowed to skip it. The logic was baffling. By evening, the sky darkened, and the sweltering air finally began to cool. As the weather grew warmer, the chaotic symphony of insects grew louder, fraying everyone's nerves. Lucas hung out at the drama club for a while as usual, heading back to his dorm after dark. The moment he walked in, Ryan Brooks scurried over. "The boss is drunk," he whispered. "Drunk? Why?" Lucas looked up and saw Jason Miller sprawled backward in his chair, the picture of existential despair. Ryan sighed. What else? The same old story about his dad forcing him to change his major. It was a thorn that had been stuck in Jason's side for years. With his father being a high-ranking police official, it was only natural he'd want to pave a career path for his son, completely ignoring what Jason himself wanted. "You're good with this stuff. Go talk him down," Ryan urged quietly. Lucas shrugged. "How am I supposed to do that?" He thought. "Is now a good time to mention I only picked this major to chase after Scarlett Montgomery?" But he was bored, and he figured Jason wasn't being entirely serious, so he sat down to humor him. "So what's the big plan, boss?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "What was the original dream?" "I want to start my own company. Make video games." Lucas nodded, feigning seriousness, playing along with his drunk friend. "Before it's the ninth art form, a game is a product. And as a product, it has a market. Have you done your market research?" Jason listened intently. "I'm looking into it. Honestly, if you play enough games, you get a feel for it, especially with the way the mobile market works. The industry insiders don't necessarily know that much more than you do, Lucas said with a small smile. So, you're saying I should start with mobile games? Jason sat up straight, suddenly energized. Lucas shook his head. No, you start with hyper-casual mobile games. It's perfect whether you're just getting your studio off the ground or trying to make your first buck. Short development cycle, fast returns, and most importantly, low investment. If it doesn't work out and you have to disband, nobody loses much. If you find out the studio has real potential, it's not too late to move on to bigger things. What genre should I go for? Jason pressed. Lucas thought for a moment. There's one genre that has all the characteristics you need. It doesn't require a huge budget or a massive team, as long as you have the confidence to make it fun. What is it? Lucas opened a popular gaming platform on his laptop, pointed at the screen, and said, roguelike. Jason's eyes went wide, like a king hearing a brilliant strategy from his most trusted advisor. He suddenly grabbed Lucas's arm. Lucas, everyone knows you're sharp. You don't have to put in any money or take any risks. Just join me. I'll sell my car, scrape together some more cash, and we'll do this. You be the brains of the operation. You'll have sweat equity. My second in command. Jason took another swig of beer. My old man won't say anything if I sell my own car. Just try it with me, okay? If we go broke, I'll go crawling back and do whatever my dad wants. When Lucas didn't answer, he kept pushing. You saw Avatar, right? James Cameron is my idol. I want to take a shot like that, too. He had his sci-fi dream, and I have my gaming dream. Lucas was taken aback, not expecting Jason to take him so seriously. Are you going to believe that? Or are you going to believe I'm Santa Claus? He said, trying to backtrack. He couldn't let Jason get carried away. It was just his armchair analysis of the market. Besides, Jason's idea was still naive. It wasn't that you couldn't chase a dream, but you couldn't trust that others wouldn't get greedy, especially when you offer a slice of the pie to someone who hasn't invested any capital. Even if that person was a friend. Anyone else would have jumped at the chance. It was a risk-free investment. If it succeeded, it was free money. If Jason lost everything, you could just walk away like nothing happened. But Lucas couldn't do that. He wasn't that kind of person. Seeing Jason's intense, pleading gaze, Lucas sighed. I'll think about it. Maybe you'll change your mind when you're sober. Only then did Jason let go. Lucas looked at his friend's newfound determination and felt a strange pang. For him, a simple, easy life was all he really wanted. Just then, Jason abruptly pushed the door open and walked out. Where are you going? Lucas asked. To take the first step, Jason mumbled. Ryan saw what was happening and rushed to follow, only to be pushed back inside by Jason. He turned to Lucas, exasperated. What's gotten into him? He's so impulsive. I think he's been thinking about this for a long time, Lucas said, his expression serious as he stared at the empty doorway. He's been complaining about his dad changing his major since freshman year, right? But isn't this a bit of a leap? I'd be less surprised if he said he was opening a law firm, Ryan mused. Then, as if remembering something, he added, oh, right. Now that you mention it, I think he started researching this stuff weeks ago. Lucas nodded. With that kind of drive, he might actually pull it off. Ryan didn't argue. He shifted to talking about himself. I don't have dreams that big. I'm just planning to get a government job. That's good, Lucas said, then lay down on his bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. A law student starting a video game company? It was insane, but it was also a sign for Lucas. His own time to make a choice about the future was fast approaching. The dorm room fell quiet. The lingering smell of stale beer hung in the air as Lucas continued to stare at the ceiling. Even though he was at a great school like the University of Washington, the pressure of grad school applications and internships was universal for every college student. Part of him wanted the easy life, like Ryan. Another part wanted to take a risk while he was still young, like Jason. If he chose one path, he would inevitably miss the scenery on the other. That was just life. You could never predict if the path you chose would be easy or what you might see along the way. It was precisely this uncertainty that led to endless second-guessing, to that paralyzing fear of losing something you never even had, until you lost the courage to take a step at all. I'll be here with you. The girl's sweet, simple words echoed in his mind. Lucas slowly picked up his phone and sent a message to Lily. Lucas, what are you up to? It was a blunt, almost awkward opening, but it had become his standard conversation starter with her. Lily would always reply honestly, and she seemed to enjoy sharing these little updates about their lives. This time, however, she must have been busy. The instant reply he'd grown accustomed to didn't come. Vanessa was behind the wheel of Jason's car, driving him to a friend's place. She knew exactly what his biggest frustration was, so when he was like this, she indulged him completely. The bumpy ride woke a drowsy Jason. Where are we going? He mumbled. Vanessa found it amusing. What do you think? You're the one who asked me to drive you to your friend's house. Oh, Jason turned his head, staring out the window at the scenery rushing by. Cars zipped past them, and in the distance, the office towers of downtown Seattle were still aglow with lights. It seemed no one in the 21st century ever rested at 9 p.m. This is what a life without freedom looks like, he thought. Watching the city lights, his expression suddenly turned serious. I want to take a shot. You already said that, Vanessa replied, her tone full of affection. Jason paused, leaning his head against the cool glass. If I really do this, I'll probably have a huge fallout with my family. And once I sell this car, I'll have nothing left. He turned to her. You wouldn't mind? Vanessa smoothly turned the steering wheel, laughing softly. I mind the current you a lot more. She added, the Jason I like wouldn't be so indecisive. Jason smiled at his reflection in the window, the gloom on his face lifting slightly. Oh, and I also mind the old you, Vanessa added. If you ever go back to your old womanizing ways from before we met, I'll break your legs. Damn, I'm completely wrapped around your finger. He sat in the passenger seat, chatting idly with Vanessa, completely oblivious to the person sitting in the back. Scarlett Montgomery watched the two of them flirt, an unfamiliar pang of envy in her chest. When Jason needed Vanessa, she was there for him in an instant. But when Scarlett needed Lucas, she realized she had been the one to push him away. Vanessa caught Scarlett's complicated expression in the rearview mirror, and Scarlett gave her a subtle nod. Vanessa sighed deeply. Speaking of which, isn't Lucas getting pretty close with some girl lately? Yeah. How'd they meet? She asked. Jason thought back. The day your best friend there rejected his confession, the whole dorm went out drinking with him. This girl was handing out flyers off campus near the South Gate. Some guy started harassing her, and, Lucas, he just marched right over and shut them down. As he spoke, the alcohol made him grin with pride. He was genuinely fond of Lucas as a friend. Later, when we were leaving, Lucas said he wanted to walk it off alone. He ran into her again in a park and saw she'd accidentally burned herself and hadn't put anything on it, so he bought her some burn cream. Turns out she goes to UW too. The next day, she found him to pay him back, and they just started seeing each other more and more. Vanessa just nodded silently, discreetly watching Scarlett's reaction in the mirror. Scarlett was biting her lower lip, her once proud eyes now filled with a sour mix of regret and pain. So what's she like? Vanessa asked Jason. Don't really know her, Jason said, recalling Lily's timid demeanor. She seems super shy. Lucas hasn't even tried to introduce us yet. A girl with that kind of personality. She's lucky to have met Lucas. Definitely. And I think Lucas is lucky to have met her at a time like this. He didn't elaborate on what a time like this meant, but both women in the car understood perfectly. So, how serious is it? Jason shot her a look. You don't have to ask on your friend's behalf. You're more worried about this than she is. And what if she is worried? Jason froze. If the queen is worried, then it's probably game over. Look at history. When the ruler starts panicking, it means things are truly beyond saving. Before things get critical, they're too busy enjoying life to be worried. He added one final, devastating blow. It's too late. Silence filled the car. A few minutes later, they arrived at Jason's destination. After he got out, Vanessa didn't immediately drive off. She listened to the back door open and watched as Scarlett moved into the passenger seat. The silence stretched on. If you want to cry, just cry, Vanessa said, her hands gripping the steering wheel as she watched Jason disappear with his friends. Later, Scarlett whispered, What does that mean? Vanessa turned to her, confused. Scarlett didn't answer. She took out her phone and opened her message thread with Lucas. It had been over 10 days since they'd last spoken. Taking a deep breath, her fingers flew across the screen. Finally, she broke the silence. Scarlett, my mom told me she was coming back from Europe the other day, but when I got home, I found out she'd lied. I was so upset. She mimicked the way she used to complain to him. For the two of them, the meaning was clear. I was hurting, and you weren't there. For years, whenever she was upset about her parents, she would call him in tears, and he had always been there in an instant. As she expected, this time, Lucas didn't reply immediately. The dream about you is really ending, isn't it? The girl waited for 10 minutes. Nothing. It was the first time in her life that 10 minutes had felt so agonizingly long. The anxious waiting was torture, making her restless. In a daze, she couldn't bring herself to imagine what it must have felt for Lucas all those times he had waited for her reply. Another half hour passed. Still no response. Finally, 2 silent tears traced paths down Scarlett's cheeks. She sniffled and typed again. Scarlett, if you don't answer me, I'm telling your mom. Scarlett, I'm going to tell her you were mean to me, and that you were the one who lost her platinum necklace. She was still trying to channel their old, playful banter, even bringing up a shared memory. It was the first time she'd ever had to be so careful, so calculating, in her words to him. This time a reply came. But no matter how much she tried to mimic the past, Lucas was no longer the same. The words on the screen were ice cold, piercing her heart. Lucas, let's just live our own lives, like we have been these past few days. Let's let each other go. A second message followed immediately. Lucas, I'm really tired. I want to forget you. Scarlett stared at the phone, forgetting to breathe. It wasn't just her who was stunned. Even Vanessa, reading over her shoulder, was shocked. The contrast with the devoted Lucas of the past was jarring. It was hard to fathom how deeply he must have been hurt. Still, she couldn't give up. Her fingers trembled as she typed. Scarlett, why? We used to be so close. 10 minutes later, the screen lit up again. Scarlett wiped her tears, her slender hands shaking as if she were about to check a final grade. Lucas, you said it yourself. Used to be. An impossibly long silence descended upon the car. When the engine finally started, the sound of quiet sobs still filled the air. On the drive home, Scarlett's mind was flooded with memories, things she hadn't thought about in years. Through blurry eyes, she felt like a child who had made a terrible mistake, full of regret and full of fear. She truly regretted it, and she was truly afraid. An hour later, Lucas was still staring at their chat history, at the final goodnight Scarlett had sent. After a long moment of contemplation, he let out a bitter, helpless laugh. Funny, the moment I give up, you start trying. I used to love you so much. But now, please, just let me go. Just then, his phone buzzed again. He rubbed his blurry eyes. Lily, sorry, I forgot to tell you earlier. I think you might be getting tired of oatmeal, so I made you some homemade muffins. If you get sick of them, just let me know and I'll make something else. But you can't skip breakfast. A genuine smile finally broke through Lucas's weariness. He tapped the screen. Lucas, okay. The next morning, a sober Jason stumbled back into the dorm, clutching his aching head. He glanced over and saw that the half case of beer he'd left was now a collection of empty bottles. Damn it, where's all my beer? Lucas drank it all. What the hell, Lucas? Why'd you drink so much? Jason yelled. Lucas slowly sat up, shaking his head. Why'd you drink so much yesterday? Jason froze. I was in a bad mood. So, was I. Hearing that, Jason's first instinct was to drag him out of bed and give him a taste of real misery, but he stopped when he saw the heavy look on Lucas's face. Confused, he just scratched his head and sat down on his own bed. The curtains were still drawn, and only a few slivers of morning light pierced through the gap, pooling on the floor. Jason stared at the patches of light, lost again in his own thoughts. Lucas picked up his phone. He and Lily exchanged good morning texts, and he asked her what kind of muffin she'd made. Then he noticed something new. Scarlett had sent him a good morning message, too. He thought for a moment, then decided to just pretend he hadn't seen it. It wasn't as if he could just flip a switch and be over her. They'd grown up together, and he had loved her for so long. But did he want to go back to how things were? Absolutely not. Looking back, some couples felt exhausted after 7 years together. The fact that he'd managed to keep chasing her for 7 years was just insane. Hey, have you made up your mind yet? Jason's voice cut through his thoughts. I'm not trying to hire you as an employee, so you don't have to overthink it. If you don't like that idea, I'll work for you. But if we do that, you'll have to invest something, otherwise it won't look right to the people we hire. He had a point. He couldn't bring in a team and have Lucas, who wasn't a coder or an artist, on equal footing with him, the primary investor. It wasn't realistic. Jason might not care, but others would, and it would destroy team morale. Although he was coming at this with the wide-eyed optimism of a kid, Jason understood the practicalities. Lucas looked at him, completely stunned. Once he was sure he wasn't dreaming, he said, Whoa, you're actually serious about this? I'm serious. Jason met his gaze, his eyes firm. Let me think about it some more. What are you so afraid of? Jason glanced around to make sure they were alone. We've been the closest out of everyone in this dorm for years. You don't trust me? Lucas did trust him. He remembered the time his gaming account was hacked, and the scammer sent out messages to all his friends asking for money. Within minutes, Jason had shown up, out of breath and holding a bank card, saying, There's 50 grand in here. I just got it from my dad. You could call him dumb for believing it, but you could call him smart for bringing the money in person. When Lucas didn't reply, Jason slapped his thigh and fell back onto his bed. Fine, I'll just have to give you the full court press. I'm not giving up until I recruit my genius strategist. It's not you I don't trust. It's me. Why are you so desperate to get me on board? Lucas asked, genuinely curious. It's not desperation. It's because I believe in you, Jason said earnestly. You're the only one who doesn't see your own strengths. I've even talked about this with my girlfriend, and she agrees. You genuinely know more than any of us. You just spent so long humbling yourself while you were chasing Scarlet. His tone grew serious. It's time for you to look up and see yourself for who you are. I hear you. Lucas nodded, gathering his things to head out. Ever seen The Social Network? He pulled open the door and shot a wicked grin at Jason. Yeah, why? Never start a company with your best friend. Lucas called out with a laugh as he stepped into the hall. Jason stared at the closed door, but couldn't stop himself from yelling back, "Screw you." Then, more quietly, "I'll be waiting." Lucas made his way to the quad, where the drama club was holding its final rehearsal. Homecoming was tomorrow, and after their daytime run-through, they had a full dress rehearsal on the main stage tonight. He had to admit, his opinion of these theater kids had changed. They were still over the top, but they were passionate. The university didn't have a proper rehearsal space for them, so they were out here practicing under the hot sun. When he arrived, Lily had already been waiting for a while, which surprised him. It was the first time he'd been the late one. Perhaps because it was the last rehearsal, she wasn't waiting in their usual spot. Instead, she was near the front, quietly watching them perform. Erin stood beside her, a look of deep satisfaction on her face. Seeing Lucas, Lily hurried over and handed him his breakfast. The faint smell of alcohol on him made her wrinkle her nose. "Could you maybe drink a little less from now on?" As Lily spoke, she realized she had unconsciously grabbed Lucas's arm and quickly let go. Despite her shyness, she didn't back away. She stood her ground, looking at him with a stubborn determination, waiting for his answer. "Okay," Lucas said with an amused smile. The way she forced herself to meet his gaze, even though she was dying of embarrassment, was unbelievably cute. Hearing his agreement, the girl quickly looked down, feeling her cheeks burn. Lucas ate his breakfast and watched the rehearsal with Lily. He was surprised. They were actually getting good. Their line delivery alone was far beyond what you'd expect from college students, putting a lot of pretty boy actors in Hollywood to shame. He could see it in Lily's focused expression. After they finished a run-through, a guy with glasses and a period costume came over to greet Lucas enthusiastically. Even with a new hairstyle and strange outfit, Lucas recognized him as the scriptwriter. "That's quite a look," Lucas joked. The guy smiled, then glanced at Lily, who was huddled close to Lucas with her head down. After a moment's thought, he decided not to greet her and turned back to Lucas. "Hey man, you have to come see the show. You really helped us out, you know." Lucas was confused. "What did I do?" "The script. We didn't have much experience, and our research on the Roaring Twenties was pretty shallow. The whole thing was a mess. But the version we revised with your input, our faculty advisor loved it. It was clear this meant a lot to him." He was beaming. Out of the corner of his eye, Lucas saw the shy Lily light up with pride upon hearing this. He smiled. "Of course. Great. I've got to get back to rehearsal." Watching these people pour their sweat and passion into their dream, Lucas quietly considered what Jason had said to him. "Lily," he said softly. She immediately turned to him, not asking what he wanted, just waiting patiently to listen. "Is it possible that I actually have a lot of good qualities?" Lucas asked, his voice low. "Yes," Lily nodded, her voice timid but firm. "A lot." Though she couldn't hold his gaze, her tone was completely serious. She truly believed it. Lucas, who had burst into her life like a ray of light. Lucas, who had stood up for her twice. Lucas, who had told her, "I'm here." He was the most amazing person she had ever met. A small smile touched Lucas's lips. Seeing the serious look on her face, he teased, "Wow, I had no idea I was so amazing." He wasn't sure if she was just trying to make him feel better, but it worked. His mood lifted instantly. Then a mischievous thought struck him. He shot her a grin. "By the way, it's Saturday. Time for your tutoring gig, Ms. Thompson." Robert and Emily Carter had been thoroughly impressed with Lily, so the part-time job was officially hers. They were, however, shocked at the $200 an hour rate Lucas had set. They weren't the type to take advantage of people and wanted to pay her a normal rate, but Lucas had refused. He knew his parents didn't understand the art of playing the long game. Paying her that much would not only put immense pressure on Lily, but might scare off the poor girl who'd never earned that kind of money before. Being called Ms. Thompson felt strange to Lily, though she couldn't quite put her finger on why. Unable to figure it out, she just nodded slightly. "I'll drive you over later, and then take you home afterward," Lucas said, pulling out his phone to text Jason and borrow his Mercedes E300. An okay popped up almost immediately. Lily quickly protested. "Oh, you don't have to go to all that trouble." "I can." She trailed off when she saw Lucas's nonchalant expression, which clearly said, "What are you going to do about it?" Experience had taught her that arguing with Lucas was futile. The girl could only relent. Even if she said no, he'd just find some other way to convince her later. It was easier to just give in from the start. A satisfied smile spread across Lucas's face. "That's more like it." Experts recommend you don't resist. The more you fight, the more excited I get. A shiver ran down her spine, and her ears turned crimson. She looked at him with a hint of grievance. You're teasing me again. Content. Lucas turned back to watch the rehearsal. The scriptwriter who'd come over earlier had already met his dramatic end on stage, and a girl was weeping over his corpse. Damn, he wrote himself getting killed off. That's commitment. You get mean when you've been drinking, Lily said earnestly, her voice soft and sweet. Lucas found this amusing, especially since he was pretty sure he was sober by now. Mean? He mulled it over, then deliberately asked in a calm tone. So, do you like the old me, or the me right now? I like. Lily stopped abruptly, realizing she'd fallen into his trap. Her wide, innocent eyes stared at him. She wanted to be angry, but couldn't manage it. Yet pretending nothing happened felt like she was letting him get away with it. All she could do was turn her head away, which took a surprising amount of effort. I'm not going to talk to him for at least an hour, she thought to herself. Maybe half an hour. He seems like he's in a bad mood. Would 10 minutes be enough? What if it makes his mood even worse? She wavered. Just then Lucas spoke. It's because you're too sweet. You get pushed around, and you don't even know how to talk back. As long as you don't learn, I'll keep teasing you. The girl turned back, her expression one of sudden understanding. Oh, is that so? In that case, I'm never going to learn how to talk back, she thought. If I don't learn, I can stay by his side forever. She didn't know why, but that's what she wanted. Lucas narrowed his eyes. Getting Lily to be more assertive was going to be a long-term project. That evening, Lucas dropped Lily off and then settled onto the Carter's couch with his laptop, his eyes glued to the screen as he scrolled through news from the gaming industry. He hadn't decided whether to take Jason up on his offer, but as a friend, he was willing to put in the time to do some research. Emma and Lily sat side by side at the desk. Emma was fidgety, constantly distracted, spinning her pen one moment and wondering if her favorite web novel had updated the next. Lily, however, was meticulously reviewing the lesson plan she had prepared. She took this job very seriously. Any other tutor would have been powerless against a little demon like Emma, but Lily's earnest, hard-working attitude made Emma feel a little guilty about slacking off. After all, Lily had filled 2 entire pages with notes just for this one session, terrified she'd get nervous and waste time. Looking at the 2 A4 pages covered in Lily's neat, beautiful handwriting, Emma felt it would be rude to goof off too much. She'd met her match. After outlining the day's plan, Lily looked up. Once you finish this page of grammar multiple-choice questions, we'll review the rules again. Emma quickly changed the subject. Hey, your university's homecoming is tomorrow, right? I'm going to the big performance night after my study hall. Day students at my school can leave early. I'll come find you. Lily was curious. Each department had only been given 5 tickets for the event. Erin had to pull strings just to get hers. How are you going to get in? She asked, instinctively tidying the books on Emma's desk. At first, Emma had been embarrassed and kept telling her not to, but Lily would still quietly organize things for her from time to time. Eventually, Emma gave up, drawing the line at letting Lily clean her room. She might not have much of conscience, but having her tutor clean up while she did her homework was a step too far. She had no idea where her brother had met such a gentle and caring girl. Nope, this is it. I have to make her my sister-in-law, effective immediately. My dad is the chair of the political science department at UW. Didn't my brother tell you? Emma blinked, genuinely surprised. She had assumed Lily already knew. Lily froze. She wasn't sure if what Lucas had told her even counted. Back at her house, when her mom had asked what his parents did, Lucas had just said his dad worked at the university. Who would have guessed that meant he was a department chair? But even in her innocence, she recognized the quiet thoughtfulness of the boy who chose not to flaunt his background. After a moment of silence, she said, Then you should definitely come find me tomorrow night. But only if you finish today's work and do extra. Deal. Emma beamed, barely containing her triumphant smile. Doubling the workload was nothing for her. She'd been slacking off so much that she'd given Lily the false impression she was a slow worker. It was like people at the office who work too efficiently and just get more piled on them. The trick was to look busy and turn your work right before the deadline. Emma wasn't sure if it was genetic, but she and her brother were cut from the same cloth, slyly mischievous. Finally, the night of the homecoming performance, an event long in the making, had arrived. The next afternoon, campus security eased the restrictions at the gates, and a flood of visitors poured onto the university grounds. Some were just curious, treating the campus like a park, and taking the opportunity to admire the vibrant student body. More, however, were parents with their children, hoping to inspire a future of academic diligence. It rarely worked, but the university welcomed the free publicity. Lucas was hanging out with the drama club. After all this time, he'd grown fond of them and wanted to wish them luck. Unusually, Lily's expression was somber. Lucas had asked about tickets, only to find out that the 5 allotted to his class were already claimed. He was shocked. Just a day ago, he'd been adamant that only an idiot would go to that thing. For past events, his advisor always had to practically force people to attend. He couldn't figure out why this one was suddenly so popular. Lily was conflicted, nervously fidgeting with her fingers. As Aaron's best friend, she had to go see the drama club's performance. But if Lucas couldn't get in, she couldn't bear the thought of him being left alone. But Lucas acted as if nothing was wrong, laughing and joking with the theater kids. After chatting with them, he noticed Lily's downcast mood, and guess what was on her mind? Why the long face? Because I can't go, he asked, leaning closer. The girl gave a small her voice low. It was partly that, but it was also that Lucas seemed so unbothered by it, which made her worry he didn't really want to go with her in the first place. You're silly, Lucas chided gently. If I'm not worried, it's because I have a plan. Why don't you just ask your classmates? See if someone doesn't really want to go. Aaron chimed in, offering her 2 cents. Lucas shot her a look. My dad is a professor here. You think I need to go around begging people for favors? But he had no intention of bothering his father over something so minor. I'll just talk to my academic advisor. It's not that complicated. Hearing this, both Aaron and Lily stared at him, dumbfounded. They couldn't imagine this was even an option. Their own advisor was a dragon who wouldn't even approve a sick day. Soon, the 3 of them were standing outside Lucas's advisor's office. He knocked twice, opened the door, glanced back at Lily and Aaron, and walked straight in. Hey, Ms. Albright, Lucas started, then paused. Wow, if I didn't know better, I'd think you were a student with that outfit. His advisor rolled her eyes, but a hint of a smile betrayed her pleasure at the compliment. She picked up a pen, ready to write him a leave of absence slip. She wasn't much older than her students and had a relaxed rapport with them. Lucas often helped her out with tasks, so getting an approved absence was usually a formality. Lucas was exasperated. He quickly stepped forward to explain. I'm not here to skip class. Then what do you want? The tickets for the performance night are all taken, but I'd really like to go. I was wondering if you could add one more for me. I mean, with that many people, one more won't make a difference, he said with a charming smile. The advisor paused. Then a strange grin spread across her face. I knew you'd go. After all, Scarlett Montgomery's name was printed in bold on the list of performers. Even his advisor knew about Lucas's massive crush on her. Back in freshman year, when Scarlett had wanted to run for class president for the novelty of it, Lucas had done all the legwork. When she got bored of the duties, Lucas had simply taken over everything, letting Scarlett enjoy the title without the work. He was utterly devoted, and Lucas was competent enough that if Scarlett had wanted a position in the student union, he probably could have made that happen too. As a young woman who had just graduated herself, she secretly admired that kind of epic romance. Now, it was Lucas's turn to be confused. He had no idea what she was talking about. It's no problem, she said. If that's all, you can go. If not, you can help me file these records. Lucas glanced back out the door. I've got things to do. I won't bother you. His advisor followed his gaze and saw Lily and Aaron curiously peeking in. Aaron didn't flinch when she was caught, but Lily quickly scurried away. Lucas suddenly felt a strange stare on him. He turned back to see his advisor looking at him with disapproval. Lucas, she said, glancing at the program list again, you need to be a one-woman man. Lucas walked out of the office, completely baffled, still trying to decipher his advisor's last comment. The moment he was out, Lily and Aaron rushed up to him. Well, did she agree? Aaron asked anxiously, seeing Lucas's stern expression. Lily's heart sank at the look on his face, and she clutched the hem of her shirt. It's handled. Aaron, who hadn't held out much hope, was floored. Someone can actually make an advisor that reasonable. That's impossible. Then she remembered it was Lucas, and it suddenly seemed plausible. Still, she shot him a glare. Then why do you look so serious? Lucas thought for a moment, then looked at Aaron with a playful smirk. I have to keep my distance from you. Don't want people thinking I'm two-timing. Aaron looked like she was about to explode. She pointed at Lily. But not with her, right? Lily, only half understanding, looked down bashfully. Lucas nodded, putting on a serious face. Go to hell. Aaron's shriek echoed down the hallway. That evening, they navigated the crowded lines into the grand hall and found their seats. The vast stage was swarmed with people filming, many with press passes hanging around their necks. Every seat in the auditorium was filled. The scale of the event was much larger than Lucas had anticipated. No wonder his advisor didn't have to strong-arm students into attending this year. Lily, who seemed overwhelmed by the spectacle, sat beside Lucas in a daze, her eyes captivated by the stage and the colorful lights. He watched her watching the novel scene, and they stayed like that until the show began. Suddenly, Lucas felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see Jason, who had somehow switched seats to sit next to him. To his right was his girlfriend, Vanessa. "Hey, here for the show?" Lucas asked. "Yeah, what are you doing here?" Jason shot back. Vanessa, sitting beside them, couldn't take it. "Are you two doing a comedy routine?" She then noticed Lily sitting next to Lucas. She paused for a second, but said nothing, not offering a greeting. Seeing that Lily was too shy to speak, Lucas didn't bother with an introduction either. "Looks like the show is split into two halves," Jason whispered. "The first half is for the university officials, with performances by successful alumni. The second half is all current students." Lucas found that surprisingly thoughtful. It was much better than a series of boring, cheesy performances. Jason was right. The first half was incredibly dull. While the sweet Lily watched with rapt attention, Lucas and Jason were on the verge of falling asleep. By the time the second half started, Lucas was already out. Suddenly, Jason was shaking his shoulder. "What?" Jason pointed at the stage. "Ryan Brooks is the MC. That bastard never told us." Lucas was instantly awake. He rubbed his eyes. "Holy crap, you're right." On stage, Ryan and a girl he didn't recognize were hosting, looking surprisingly professional. But their excitement lasted only a moment before boredom set in again. It wasn't until the drama club took the stage that Lucas sat up straight. The fruits of their hard work were immediately apparent. Within a minute, they had captured the entire audience's attention. It was, without a doubt, the best performance of the night. Even the camera crews in the front row seemed to be paying closer attention. Lucas leaned over to Lily, whispering in her ear, "What do you think? Is it good?" The girl nodded. "I've never seen anything like it." He watched her cute, curious expression and couldn't help but smile. But then, a pang of sadness hit him as he realized just how sheltered this sweet girl really was. A few minutes later, Lily leaned toward him. She pulled a bottle of water from her canvas tote bag, twisted the cap open for him, and asked in a gentle voice, "Are you thirsty? I brought you some water." Lucas had just taken it when Jason slapped his shoulder, nearly making him spill it. "Will you cut it out?" he hissed. Jason didn't look at him. His eyes were glued to the stage as he kept tapping Lucas's arm, muttering one name. Scarlett Montgomery. Scarlett and the other members of the dance crew were dressed in flowing, elegant red gowns. One after another, the graceful figures took the stage, their presence commanding. As the undisputed star, she stood at the center, like a rosebud waiting to bloom. Unlike the other girls, whose nerves were palpable, she held her head high, her expression serene as she subtly scanned the audience. She was long accustomed to being the center of attention, even under the glare of dozens of cameras. The girls of the dance crew were all stunning, but under Scarlett's radiant glow, they all seemed to fade into the background. This was the girl Lucas had once loved so deeply. Brilliant, dazzling, and possessed of a pride born from that very brilliance. She had every right to it. True to form for college students, the moment the dancers appeared, everyone in the audience immediately put down their phones. Vanessa, the only one in their group who knew this was coming, quietly turned to gauge Lucas's reaction. Lucas and Lily both froze at the mention of her name. Lily was the first to recover. Without a word, she gently took the water bottle from Lucas and screwed the cap on tight, afraid he would spill it again. Then she took out a tissue and began dabbing at the drops on his shirt. Now Lucas understood his advisor's comment. "I knew you'd go," but his attention quickly returned to Lily. "Thanks," he said softly. The girl looked up and saw his gentle smile. A sense of peace washed over her, though she couldn't explain why her heart had felt like it was weighed down by a stone just a moment before. Didn't she just go to help them choreograph? How'd she end up performing herself? Jason asked Lucas. When Lucas didn't answer, he turned to Vanessa. "You knew about this the whole time, didn't you?" "I did." Jason found this amusing. Did she think the other dancers were so bad she had to do it herself? Vanessa just shook her head, her gaze fixed on the radiant figure at center stage. "She has another reason," she said seriously. She knew. Scarlett was dancing for Lucas. She glanced back at Lucas, only to find him still talking quietly with Lily. Her expression grew complicated. Just then, the female MC's sweet voice filled the hall. "Let's give a huge round of applause for the incredible performance from our drama club." A slightly nervous Ryan Brooks picked up the cue. "And now, please enjoy a special performance from our dance crew to the song Cosmic Love." The two MCs moved to the sides, leaving the stage to the dancers. The opening notes of the Florence and a Machine song began to play. The girls around Scarlett slowly parted, and she stepped forward. The moment she lifted her right arm, the entire auditorium erupted in cheers. "A falling star fell from your heart," and landed in my eyes. The audience was completely captivated, and the atmosphere reached a fever pitch as Scarlet executed a breathtaking leap. Lucas saw that the three people next to him were all mesmerized. He let out a small, bitter smile. "I'm going to the restroom," he whispered. "I wouldn't if I were you," Vanessa said under her breath as he passed. "Why not? What if she's dancing for you?" Lucas paused for a fraction of a second, then continued on his way. "I used to play guitar for her. She didn't always stay to listen." By the time the dance ended, Lucas was just returning from the restroom. "Perfect timing," Jason laughed. Lucas didn't say anything. He was about to sit down when he realized his seat was already taken. Emma was looking up at him with a wicked grin. "Bro, are you kidding me?" "Move," Lucas said, completely exasperated. Emma just huffed and slid over to sit on Lily's other side. "When did you get here?" he asked, turning to his sister. "A while ago. It just took me forever to find you guys. I didn't realize Lily was trying to save data and wasn't checking her phone. I thought she was ignoring my texts." Lucas thought about the person who had been sitting there before. "So someone was nice enough to trade seats with you halfway through the show?" Emma smiled. "It was easy. I told him my seat was in the front row, where he could be face-to-face with the dancers. He didn't even hesitate. No one knew what to say to that. But thanks to Emma's mischievous energy, the awkward tension in the air vanished completely. Lucas was actually grateful. Maybe my sister is useful for something after all." Just then, Emma nudged Lily's arm. "Lily, don't you worry. Even though I really like Scarlet, who was just dancing, I like you the most right now." She wisely kept the part about "I still want you to be my sister-in-law" to herself. Lucas's face darkened as he plotted his revenge. The sweet Lily didn't understand why Emma was saying this, but she nodded shyly anyway. For the rest of the show, the group listened to Emma's running commentary, finding it surprisingly entertaining. Soon, it was time for the interview segment before the finale. Usually, they would just bring up a few performers from the more polished acts and go through a scripted Q&A. Amid a storm of applause, Scarlet walked gracefully onto the stage, standing between Ryan and the female MC. "That was truly the most beautiful dance I have ever seen," the MC gushed. "Scarlet, is there anything you'd like to say?" Scarlet nodded slightly. "First, thank you all for your support." The words were barely out of her mouth before cheers, and even a few confessions of love erupted from the crowd. Lucas was just scrolling through his phone, not paying attention. He remembered clearly. The one person the girl had never thanked was him. "And next, I want to thank." Her voice suddenly drew out the words. "Lucas Carter." The female MC and Ryan both froze, completely stunned. This was not in the script. "I'm sorry," Scarlet continued, a bitter smile on her flawless face. "These are things I should have said after my first performance freshman year. I can't believe I waited until my second time on this stage. It's a little late. Thank you for helping me so much. Thank you for being by my side all these years. I can't believe I'm only realizing it now. I am sorry. I took your kindness for granted. I am sorry. I ignored everything you did for me. I am truly, truly sorry." The hall grew quieter and quieter. For the first time, Scarlet felt a flicker of nerves. "I hope that when we have our graduation ceremony, you'll still be by my side. Can you be?" With that, she bowed deeply to the audience, as if apologizing for her own willfulness. Seeing his co-host completely petrified, Ryan thought, "Lucas, you son of a bitch," and quickly tried to salvage the situation. What a heartfelt moment from Scarlet. I'm sure that student definitely feels it. And now, let's welcome the drama club back to the stage. For a moment, the entire hall was plunged into a dead silence. Then chaos erupted. Who the hell is Lucas Carter? He better sleep with one eye open tonight. Damn it, that's my goddess. What class is he in? I want to fight him. I literally just fell in love 5 minutes ago, and now my heart is broken. In the audience, Vanessa looked at Lucas with frantic worry. Is she going to get in trouble for this? She knew Scarlet planned to dance for him, but she had no idea her best friend would pull a stunt like this. Lucas's expression was surprisingly calm. "No," he said coolly. "People have rushed the stage to confess their love before. They didn't get in trouble. Besides, you don't know who her father is." Despite his reassurance, Vanessa hurried toward the backstage area. Lucas paid her no mind. He turned to Lily. "It's over. Let's go." The moment Scarlet got backstage, Vanessa grabbed her by the shoulders. "This is going to be all over the internet." "Scarlet, are you insane?" she asked, her voice laced with panic. "I'm not insane. In fact, I don't think I've ever been more clear-headed in my life," Scarlet said, meeting her gaze with a smile. But the smile quickly twisted, and 2 streams of tears began to fall. "It's okay. I didn't cry on stage, so my makeup isn't ruined," Scarlet said, wiping her tears while still trying to smile. "He still saw me at my best. He'll come back. He has to. Just like your public confession, I've embarrassed myself in public, too. At Lucas's words, Lily picked up her bag and stood up, quietly positioning herself by his side. Jason and Lucas looked at each other, momentarily at a loss for words. As Lucas's best friend, Jason had always disliked Scarlett, but he never expected her to pull a stunt like this. For the first time, he took a proper look at Lily. Standing this close, he realized this girl was just as beautiful as Scarlett, if not more so. He didn't know whether to call Lucas lucky or unlucky. On one hand, he'd chased Scarlett for 7 years and gotten nowhere. On the other, this girl, Lily, was clearly a kind soul and stunningly attractive. Before Lucas could react, Emma grabbed Lily's hand and started pulling her away. Lily kept looking back at Lucas, her expression anxious. Lucas just smiled and waved, signaling for them to go ahead. "Let me borrow your car. I'm taking her home," Lucas said quietly. Seeing Emma's mischievous grin, he figured Lily's tutoring session for the day was canceled. Jason didn't hesitate. He tossed him the keys. "Any other guy would kill to be you right now," he joked. "Both girls in your life are absolute knockouts. They can be envious all they want. They don't know a damn thing. So what are you thinking?" Jason asked, curious. "I thought you'd be crying with joy. If you were in my shoes, you'd know that after so much hurt, a few words of apology mean nothing," Lucas said, his voice cold, turning to leave Jason with nothing but the sight of his back. Lucas found Emma and Lily by the campus entrance. His sister, a connoisseur of junk food, had dragged Lily to the food trucks lining the street. The two of them stood under a bright street lamp, taking small bites of street hot dogs and feeding the mosquitoes. "If you like it so much, you should just get into UW. This street is packed with them every night," Lucas grumbled. He'd eaten his fill of this stuff over the years. He then gently poked Lily's forehead. "I'm taking you home." "As if I could get in," Emma shot back, watching with a pout as her brother led Lily away. Just as they were about to leave, Lucas's phone rang. He froze when he saw the caller ID. Lily blinked at him, curious. She had rarely seen the ever-composed Lucas look so awkward. "Who is it?" Emma asked, also intrigued. "Mr. Montgomery." Lucas gestured for his sister to keep her voice down and answer the call. "Hello, Mr. Montgomery," Lucas said with a light laugh. "It's been a while. My dad was just talking about you the other day." A crisp, middle-aged man's voice came through the phone. "Lucas, how have you been? Are you facing any difficulties?" William Montgomery always spoke with a formal, almost official tone. "I'm doing great. What kind of trouble can a college student get into?" Lucas replied politely, knowing the real reason for the call was coming. "Have you and Scarlett had a falling out recently?" "A small disagreement." He decided to tell the truth. If he was asking, he must have seen his daughter's performance. "The kind of small disagreement where we never speak again," he added silently in his head. He then asked, "Were you at the show tonight?" "I was. But the child refused to see me, and I couldn't find you, so I had the driver pick me up," William Montgomery sighed. "It's normal for you young people to have friction. Remember to communicate more. Temper tantrums don't solve problems." "I will. I'll watch you grow up, son. I'm always at ease when you're by Scarlett's side," he said, his tone serious. "Come have dinner with me when I'm free. I have to go for now." "Of course. Goodbye, Mr. Montgomery." Lucas hung up politely, finally letting out a breath. Although Mr. Montgomery had always been kind to him, talking to a high-level federal official like that was still nerve-wracking, especially when he might be calling on behalf of his precious daughter. The moment that call ended, another one came in. "Who is it now?" Emma asked. Lucas looked at the screen with a deadpan expression. "Our dad. Why am I the one suffering for Scarlett's drama?" "Hello," Lucas answered, his voice devoid of life. "What's going on with you and Scarlett?" Robert Carter's tone was more casual, getting straight to the point with his son. "A small disagreement. I just explained it to Mr. Montgomery." Robert still didn't sound convinced. "If you dare to bully her, you won't have to wait for her father. I'll break your legs first. Why don't you just adopt her then?" Lucas retorted, annoyed. Though his mother was the only one who'd ever disciplined him, he hated being threatened. "I'm hanging up. I have to take Lily home." As he spoke, he helped Lily with her seatbelt. "Tell Mom not to call me. I don't want her grilling me." On the other end, Robert Carter heard the dial tone and sighed. What in the world are those two fighting about? Emily Carter, sitting beside him, asked curiously. "Scarlett made such a big scene on stage." Robert shook his head. "You know her son? If he doesn't want to talk about something, we'll never get it out of him." After a moment, he added, "Let the kids sort out their own problems. We can't interfere. That boy has been trailing after her since they were little, and he still hasn't won her over. Didn't inherit any of my good genes." Robert and William had been friends since their diaper days, and he would have been thrilled for their families to become in-laws. Emily was unimpressed. She gave her husband a look. I think that Lily girl is wonderful. I'm sure our Lucas likes her. Lucas drove Lily home. The car was mostly quiet, but every so often, Lucas would glance over at the sweet girl. It didn't take a genius to see that her mood was low. Are we still best friends? Lucas asked. Yes, the girl replied instantly. Then why didn't you share your hot dog with me? At that, Lily hastily held out the small paper container with both hands. I'm sorry. I was distracted and forgot. I'm driving. Lucas, who had been steering casually with one hand, immediately put both hands on the wheel. Can you feed me? Okay. Lily picked up a piece, saw the steam rising from it, and waited patiently for it to cool. That'll take too long. Just blow on it. I don't mind, Lucas said with a smile. He didn't have time to see if she was blushing. He only knew that after a moment's hesitation, she began to blow on it earnestly before holding it to his lips. For the rest of the drive, all he had to do was open his mouth. In front of the alleyway, Lily slowly unbuckled her seatbelt and waved at Lucas. I'm going now. She would let him buckle her in, but she couldn't bring herself to let him unbuckle it. It felt too much like he was undressing her. Lucas nodded slightly. Say hi to your mom for me. I won't come down this time. He stared straight ahead, lost in thought. Lily blinked, then gave a small nod. The girl walked alone down the dimly lit alley. The old overhead lamp flickered, casting a lonely light on her slender, trembling figure. She clutched her canvas bag and walked slowly with her head down. She couldn't understand why, but she felt an overwhelming sadness. The tears just wouldn't stop falling. She didn't know why. After being alone for so long, she suddenly couldn't bear to be without Lucas. She felt like a starving person who had finally found food, terrified of returning to the way things were before. She was so afraid he would leave her, so afraid he would let her walk away alone, just like he had moments ago. Lily walked on, wiping her tears, her steps slow and deliberate. She had to finish crying out here. She couldn't bring her tears home. Her mom would worry. Just then, a voice shattered the alley's silence. Lily Thompson, head up. I said I would always be behind you, and I will be. Lucas was standing at the entrance of the alley, watching her distant back. The girl continued to walk forward, slowly, until she finally lifted her head. Seeing Lily force her head up, a smile played on Lucas's lips. He stood perfectly still, watching her walk step by step. Only when her figure disappeared at the end of the alley did he turn to leave. Just as he was about to get back in the car, a light rain began to fall. Droplets splattered against the pavement, leaving dark imprints. The ones that landed on his face traced paths down his cheeks, over his neck, and across his throat, bringing a sudden chill. He had to admit, hearing Scarlett's public apology today had thrown him for a loop. Staring into the rain, Lucas didn't even notice he was getting wet. He made himself a silent promise. Since he had barged into this sweet girl's life, he had to see it through. Let the past be the past. Forget everything that happened, wash his heart clean, and figure out how to bring a smile to that girl's face. Lily wasn't a replacement for Scarlett. She couldn't be. Lily was just Lily. Just then his phone buzzed. Lily, go back, quick. Don't get caught in the rain. Lucas, how can I get wet in the car? Are you silly? Lily, you're lying again. I saw you didn't leave. Lucas squinted into the distance, and, sure enough, saw her little head peeking out from a corner. She ducked away as soon as she was spotted. He picked up his phone and tapped the screen. Lucas, get back inside. He couldn't help but let out another soft laugh. He got back in the car, started the engine, and drove slowly through the rainy night. That sweet girl actually came back to spy on me. Slyly mischievous. On the way back, Lucas replayed the feeling of being fed in the car. It was the first time a girl had ever fed him. It was nice. He was happy. Lucas was grateful he didn't have a mirror in front of him. He was sure he was grinning like an idiot. Arriving back at his dorm, Lucas stretched and pushed the door open. My dear sons, Daddy's home, he announced. The room was empty. What the hell? Where's everyone? Lucas scanned the empty room in shock and sent a message to the dorm group chat. Lucas, you guys didn't go out to eat without me, did you? Am I being ghosted? Ryan Brooks, I'm at a dinner, but it's the after party for the show. Dylan Cooper, you know me, man. I moved off campus a while ago. Jason Miller didn't reply. Then another message from Ryan popped up. Ryan Brooks, you didn't eat tonight? I can bring you something back. Lucas, I had street hot dogs, and a girl fed them to me. Ryan Brooks, FYOE Dylan Cooper. FYU, a satisfied smile spread across Lucas's face as he flopped onto his bed. What he didn't know was that from the first day of freshman year, his roommates had seen him and mentally prepared themselves for years of being the third wheel. After getting to know his personality, they'd completely resigned themselves to it. A guy that, good-looking with a great personality, was bound to have a girlfriend. Instead, he'd spent all his time chasing Scarlet and had never actually dated anyone. And what his roommates didn't know was that Lucas's high school friends had all thought the exact same thing. They never imagined Lucas would go through 3 years of high school single, or that they would experience love before he did. Just as Lucas closed his eyes, his phone buzzed again. It was Jason. Jason, get down here. Urgent. ASAP. Lucas didn't ask questions. He climbed out of bed and headed out. Among guys, the fewer words used, the more serious the situation. Lucas got downstairs. The earlier rain had stopped, but a cold wind had swept in behind it, raising goosebumps on his arms. At this hour, the area around the men's dorm was deserted. Guys without girlfriends were all inside playing video games, and guys with girlfriends were all over by the women's dorms. Or at a hotel. You rarely saw couples making out here, but it was a common sight on the other side of campus. Lucas looked around, but couldn't see Jason anywhere. He stood under a street lamp and was about to call him when he caught a flash of a stunning figure walking toward him out of the corner of his eye. It was too familiar. So familiar that even a glimpse in the dark was enough to recognize her instantly. Lucas froze. Scarlett Montgomery. What is she doing here? He looked up, put his phone back in his pocket, his expression unavoidably surprised. Did Jason sell me out? Did his girlfriend turn him? 5 steps, 4, 3. The distance between them shrank. The girl walked closer and closer until she was standing right in front of him. She was as beautiful as ever, wearing a tight black halter top that perfectly showcased her captivating collarbones. A short skirt of just the right length revealed her long, eye-catching legs. It was her signature style, clearly chosen with care for the occasion. The only strange thing was her hair, which was pulled back into a ponytail, a first. Seeing the look on Lucas's face, Scarlett's serious expression broke into a radiant smile, revealing faint dimples. Jason didn't sell you out. He's drunk. Vanessa picked him up. Scarlett didn't finish her sentence. She knew Lucas could guess the rest. It was a vibe, an unspoken understanding they had developed since childhood, and Lucas had already figured it out. So, you were just looking for an excuse to get me to meet you? Lucas said, his face impassive, though his tone was laced with confusion. And Vanessa, who was in on it, saw an opportunity and played along. Scarlett lifted her chin proudly. We still have that connection. Lucas said nothing. Before, if Scarlett had said something like that to him, he would have been smiling in his sleep. But times had changed. You couldn't expect dead ashes to reignite. It was precisely because the fire had consumed itself that it had turned to ash in the first place. Seeing Lucas's cold, unfamiliar expression, Scarlett first felt a wave of unreality, followed by a clenching in her heart. He was polite but distant, as if he were facing a stranger. The past 10-odd days without contact had been an eternity, leaving her completely adrift. It was like being thrown in a prison cell, forced to think, forced to repent. Until she finally realized how passionately Lucas had once loved her, and until she realized he was no longer by her side. So she had chosen to apologize publicly at the performance, and now she was standing in front of him. Scarlett herself had never imagined that she, who couldn't even remember the names of most boys, would ever lower her head for one. Now, seeing him, she started to feel afraid. The calmer Lucas appeared, the more she panicked. Finally, she mustered her courage and whispered, "Are you still angry with me?" Lucas let out a short, sharp laugh. It seemed to be aimed at his own past, or perhaps at the girl's obliviousness. "I was never angry with you," he said calmly. "Then why?" Scarlett started, but he cut her off. "I just don't want to be in love with you anymore." The girl froze, speechless for a long moment. Her eyes welled up, and under the pale lamplight, it looked as if she were wearing dark eyeshadow. After a period of silence, she spoke again, her voice trembling. "I am sorry. I know I was wrong. I won't be like that anymore. I swear. I've been thinking these past few days, remembering everything from when we were kids. I know I was awful to you, but it won't happen again. Lucas, please." She begged. "Please give me back the love that was supposed to be mine." It was the first time in his life Lucas had ever heard Scarlett speak in such a pleading tone. The first time ever, even counting their days before kindergarten. She had never begged anyone for anything. Despite her parents' divorce, she had been showered with love and grown up in an environment far beyond the reach of ordinary people. She never needed to ask for things. Money alone couldn't buy everything, but money combined with power could. But this time, Scarlett was truly begging. Even with that realization, Lucas just stared at her coldly. "No," he said, his voice firm. At that single word, the tears that had been gathering in Scarlett's eyes finally spilled over, streaming down her delicate cheeks and falling to the pavement below, blooming like flowers of despair and regret. "But why? Didn't you love me for 7 years? You used to love me so much." Scarlet sobbed, her beauty even more heart-wrenching in her grief. Her heart felt like it was encased in ice. Lucas was the one person who could never stand to see her cry. To keep her from tears, he had gotten into fights in elementary school and skipped class in middle school. Where parents were getting divorced, he had stayed by her side day and night. When she'd had the chicken pox, he had sat on the other side of her bedroom door, passing notes under it for hours on end, day after day. Childhood sweethearts. Innocent playmates. The perfect power couple. It should have been a beautiful love story, but she had single-handedly rewritten it into a tragedy. And now, the boy who had done all that was so heartbroken that he could stand there and watch her cry without doing a thing. The memories made her grief and regret swell. The girl who was normally so composed couldn't stop herself from crying out loud. Yes, I loved you for 7 years. But you said it yourself. That was the past, Lucas said with a detached smile. What makes you think I would love you forever? Seeing her uncontrollable sobs, Lucas's own feelings grew more complicated. I don't regret being good to you. I never regretted any of it. But like I said that day, it's over. Honestly, I used to love you so much. So much that even now, I don't want to see you sad. But I truly don't want to go back to being by your side. Do you understand what I mean? I hope you can be happy, and we can go on and live our separate lives. Lucas had always been a rational person, but he never imagined he could be this rational with Scarlet. He continued, "There's no point in me going back to you. The past is what it is. I can never forget it. You might think now that if you had just accepted my confession that day, everything would be fine. But it wouldn't. It really wouldn't. That confession was just me putting a period at the end of our story. My love for you was something you personally tore to shreds over the years. So even if you had said yes that day, we could never have gone back to the way we were." His words struck her like a bolt of lightning, leaving her mind reeling. She momentarily forgot to breathe, consumed by an endless tide of regret. The beautiful memories of the past were like quicksand. The more she struggled to grasp them, the deeper she sank. Scarlet suddenly felt ridiculous. Minutes ago, she had thought she'd simply missed her chance. It had never occurred to her that the damage she had inflicted on Lucas was a slow, cumulative process. "I was just used to it. She tried to explain, but stopped when she saw Lucas raise a single finger to his lips. The message was clear. He wouldn't listen to another word. She understood. He was preserving one last shred of dignity for her and for their relationship. Scarlet wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Just take one picture with me, and then I'll go." Seeing Lucas's confusion, she added, "You used to love taking pictures of me. I know that was in the past, and I don't care who you take pictures of in the future. Just one, okay? After this, I'll leave immediately," Scarlet said, her hands clasped tightly as she looked at him with a serious expression. Lucas found a girl who was out for a night run and asked her to take a photo for them. "You picked the spot. You're the one who studied photography so deeply," Scarlet said, using the moment he was distracted to wipe her face with a tissue. Unless you were standing close or heard her speak, you'd never know she had just been crying. A self-deprecating smile touched her lips. Only now did it occur to her how romantic it was that Lucas had learned photography just to capture her at her best. And by the time she realized it, it was for the very last time. Truly, pathetically ironic. Lucas quickly found a spot by a street lamp. A branch from a nearby tree cast a perfect black line across the ground. He naturally chose it. Good lighting and good symbolism. He silently stood on one side of the black line and looked at the camera. But the girl held the phone up for what felt like an eternity. "Is there a problem? Am I not photogenic enough?" Lucas joked. The girl shook her head, looking hesitant. "No, it's just, the young lady keeps wiping her eyes." Lucas shifted his gaze. Sure enough, Scarlet was constantly rubbing her tears away, as if she couldn't stop them. "It's fine," she said quickly. "Just take it like this." 2 minutes later, Scarlet stared at the photo on her phone. In it, Lucas was looking at her, and she was a complete mess, her face tear-streaked like a bullied child. This was his final act of gentleness toward her. "Should I send it to you?" she asked. "You can keep it," Lucas said, then turned and walked away. This time, it was his turn to leave her with a resolute back. "Why?" he thought as he walked, his head hung low. "Why is it that the colder I am, the more you try?" He didn't understand. As he walked, he noticed the rain, which had paused for a while, had started to fall again. Late at night, unable to reach Scarlet, Vanessa rushed back to the dorm from her hotel. Just outside the building, she found Scarlet squatting on the ground, her eyes vacant and staring into space. Vanessa paused for a moment, then crouched down beside her, letting Scarlet lean her head on her shoulder. The tears Scarlet had managed to hold back came flooding out again at the sight of her friend. "I was wrong. I am sorry. I really know I was wrong." Vanessa's eyes trembled with sympathy. She could only offer a bitter smile. Telling me won't do any good. You fool, she thought. I told you back then. I told you you would regret this. Scarlet's tears quickly soaked Vanessa's shirt. But it's no use telling him, either. She choked out. The rain continued to fall, and a cold wind brought a biting chill. The two beautiful girls sat huddled together by the dorm entrance, sharing a coat. The one with the ponytail was especially pitiable, her face pale and drawn. Scarlet had cried herself out and was now in a calmer state. Vanessa looked at her red-eyed best friend, her expression a mix of helplessness and frustration. She pitied her misfortune, but was exasperated by her choices. Because she really had tried to warn her. Scarlet had had so many chances, but she had let every single one of them slip through her fingers. I really did forget all, Scarlet said quietly, staring into the rainy darkness under a distant street lamp. She slowly raised her hand, suspending it in the night air, as if trying to catch the cold raindrops, or perhaps hoping a familiar boy would pull her up, just like he always used to. But there was nothing. Not the rain, not the boy. Both were too far away. Forgot what? Vanessa asked, confused. I forgot how good Lucas was to me, Scarlet said, her lips pursed in a mournful expression. All those things became such a normal part of my life that I just ignored them. It's only now that he's gone that I finally realize it. Vanessa listened silently. It was a common, baffling human flaw to take the kindness of those closest to you for granted, while being deeply grateful for the smallest favor from a stranger. The most classic example was a rebellious teenager and their parents. No matter how bad the fights got, they would eventually realize that the only people in the world who loved them unconditionally were their parents. Only after getting beaten down by the real world would they understand that no one else would put up with their nonsense forever. A small smile touched Scarlet's lips, as if she'd remembered something pleasant. But then, a fresh tear traced a path down her cheek. It would have been better if he were a bad person. If he had fought with me more, maybe I would have realized sooner how awful I was being. Vanessa was speechless. She frowned. So you're saying if Lucas wasn't such a good guy, you would have gotten with him? Scarlet shook her head, her long ponytail swaying. You and Jason know him. Lucas is so smart. He knew what was going on. He was just too in love with me. So in love that all he wanted was to be good to me. He wouldn't stoop to playing hot and cold or any of those kind of games. He never, ever wanted me to suffer. As she spoke, the smile on her face grew wider, until the sudden, brutal realization that none of that belonged to her anymore made it freeze. The tears were all gone now. All she could do was stare blankly into the distance. Let's go back and get some sleep, Scarlet said after long silence. She slowly stood up, reached out her hand, and pulled Vanessa to her feet. That night, Scarlet lay awake, listening to the sound of the rain, never once closing her eyes. No one knew what she was thinking. The next day at noon, Lucas was woken up by his phone ringing. Aaron asked if we want to go to dinner tonight. It's a celebration for the drama club. Lily's voice, though still gentle, was tinged with a slight pout because Lucas had skipped breakfast. There was also a hint of nervousness in her tone. Lucas thought for a moment, then yawned. Do you want to go? He knew how shy she was around new people and how bad she was at saying no. If Lily didn't want to go, he'd just cancel and suggest the three of them, him, her, and Aaron, do something in a couple of days. With no strangers around, Lily wouldn't be so tense. Some things couldn't be rushed. The girl on the other end of the line clearly hadn't expected the question and was at a loss for how to respond. When she didn't answer, Lucas explained patiently, You don't have to feel bad about saying no. This isn't the kind of dinner you're thinking of. We're not the guests of honor, so it doesn't matter if we go or not. If you're not comfortable with a big group, just say you can't make it. Then, tell Aaron, I want to take the two of you out to dinner in a couple of days. Don't worry, it won't hurt her feelings. It's not like we're blowing her off without a good reason. Lily wasn't sure if she'd fully understood him. She was too busy savoring the word. Do you want to go? Lucas asked again, his voice soft. The girl paused, then slowly said no. A room full of strangers truly made her feel suffocated. Exactly. From now on, if you don't want to do something, just say so, Lucas said, deeply satisfied. He lay back down. Okay, I'm hanging up now. I'm going back to sleep. So tired. The girl's voice on the other end suddenly grew urgent. Wait, one more thing. What? Lily took a few deep breaths, finally mustering all her courage. Can I take you to dinner? Her voice was small, almost trembling, but her tone was firm. The question had taken everything she had. Hello, are you there? I still haven't thanked you for helping me find a job. She prodded cautiously after a few seconds of silence. Lucas finally snapped out of his daze, completely unaware of the smile spreading across his face. I'm here. This sweet girl, who normally only eats hash browns to save money, wants to treat me to dinner. Then she added, just you. Lucas froze. Wow, she learns fast. He didn't know whether to be happy that she was asking him out to dinner or that she was making a real effort to change and grow. After they agreed to meet in the afternoon, Lucas was about to go back to sleep when Lily called again. What else? Lucas asked. His patience for her seemingly endless. Erin said. She postponed the drama club party until tomorrow. She wants to treat just the two of us to dinner tonight. Nice, Lucas said crisply. He briefly wondered if Erin had just been slow on the uptake. Was getting her work posted on a university website really that big of a deal? This time, Lucas didn't ask Lily if she wanted to go. He just agreed. I'll eat anything. You two figure it out. Just make sure you pick a good place. We've earned it after all the work we've put in helping her. Okay. By now, Lucas was wide awake. He climbed out of bed to get ready. He wasn't sure when he'd finally fallen asleep last night, but he'd slept until now. By the time he was done, it would be about time to meet Lily for dinner. Seeing Jason still asleep, Lucas's annoyance grew. He walked over and kicked his bed. What the hell? Are you insane? Jason jolted upright. He saw Lucas staring down at him coldly. Did your girlfriend turn you against me? No way. Dude, I'm always on your side, Jason said earnestly, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Seeing his friend's clueless, sincere expression made Lucas even more exasperated. He sighed. You know what? Just admit she did. What does that mean? Lucas slowly explained the events of the previous night, then gave him another light kick for good measure. While getting things straight with Scarlet was for the best, being manipulated like that still pissed him off. Is that really what happened? You really did that? Jason asked, leaning in close once he understood. Lucas nodded, his face a blank mask. You, my friend. Jason suddenly didn't know what to say. As the primary witness to Lucas's 3-year-long pursuit, his feelings were complicated. Well, he said finally. Congratulations on being free, I guess. After a moment, Jason spoke again. Seriously, man, I really thought you'd go back to her. I mean, I've never seen Scarlett Montgomery eat humble pie like that. He wasn't sure if he was more stunned by Scarlett's public apology at the gala, or just sad that his friend's decade of devotion had seemingly gone up in smoke. For some reason, it felt like a damn shame. Too late, Lucas said, his voice low. Besides, what makes you so sure she's genuinely realized she likes me, and isn't just uncomfortable now that she doesn't have someone waiting on her hand and foot? He knew it sounded arrogant, but how many guys would fetch meals and pick up packages every single day at her beck and call for over a decade, without fail? Jason was speechless. He hadn't really thought about it that way. He'd put himself in her shoes and imagined how moved he'd be, momentarily forgetting the sheer scale of Lucas's commitment over the years. Damn, am I that cheap? He thought. A little bit of kindness, and I'm ready to fold. So much for my player reputation, Jason sighed. You see things way more clearly than I do. Lucas pulled a t-shirt from his closet, the fabric stretching taut over his abs for a second before settling. It's not that you can't see it. It's that you've never invested that much in someone. You could try it. Go apologize to all those girls you ghosted. See how they react. Most of them are probably wearing rose-colored glasses anyway, but you might find one or two who were actually serious. Jason stayed quiet, a new thought forming in his mind. Maybe I should see how Vanessa would react first. He shuddered. He could end up being the next Ken Thompson. I'm heading out, Lucas said, grabbing a trash bag and opening the door. Wait, Jason called out suddenly. What? Can't bear to see your old man go. Lucas asked with a grin. What's the verdict on going in on that business with me? You love gaming. Haven't you ever dreamed of making a game that could get nominated at the Game Awards? Still thinking? But I have to warn you, if you go into a startup with that kind of idealistic mindset, you're going to starve. The door clicked shut. Damn it, Jason muttered to the empty room. That's why I need you. The group had agreed to get barbecue that evening. Since Mia Thompson had her own things to take care of, Lucas went to the library to find Lily, planning to hang out there until it was time for dinner. She was studying for her finals, which were coming up in June. Even when she was buried in rehearsals for the drama club, she never forgot to review her vocabulary lists. Now that the play was over, she'd practically moved into the library. Lily wasn't like Lucas, who could goof off and still ace his classes, but she wasn't the type to burn herself out for mediocre grades either. She was somewhere in the middle, dedicating any time she wasn't working her part-time job or caring for her mother to her studies. It was how she secured her scholarships and aimed for a better future. Watching the girl focus so intently, Lucas got up and checked out a couple of books for himself. Lily's arms were resting neatly on the smooth table, her skin so pale and soft it made him want to reach out and touch it. She must have sensed his gaze, because she looked up from her notes, glanced at the book in his hands, and asked, "What are you reading?" Lucas quickly shifted his eyes back to the page. This one? It's about the startup process. He pointed to another book on the table. And that one is the famous C++ for dummies. Lily's mouth fell open slightly, and she blinked. But, aren't you a law major? Why are you reading that? She was surprised, but it also clicked. No wonder he knows how to do everything. Even with his own demanding coursework, he was still finding time to learn new things. Just killing time. Figured I'd learn something new, Lucas said casually. It's for a friend, really. He's the reckless type, probably wouldn't think to do the research beforehand. Lily looked even more stunned, her mouth still slightly agape. Just keeping up with her own classes was exhausting. How did Lucas find the time to study things so far outside his major? Lucas saw the look on her face and discreetly pointed to a few students in the distance, their desks piled high with books. They looked incredibly diligent, but they were all wearing earbuds, scrolling through videos on their phones. Nothing you learn is ever wasted, he said quietly. And I'm just using the time other people spend on TikTok. I still get my own stuff done. He was confident that if he had to take the bar exam right now, he would pass. She nodded, not quite understanding but accepting it, and returned to her work. For some reason, having Lucas nearby made her feel incredibly calm, and she found she could focus better than ever. She was starting to love being near him, even if they weren't doing anything at all. This simple contentment was a luxury she'd never dared to dream of. Just then, Lucas started poking her arm with his pen. Her skin was so sensitive that the light pressure left a small white mark. He'd poke her, then watch as the mark slowly faded. Can I poke your cheek? He whispered playfully. Lily froze for a second, then slowly leaned a little closer to him, so his hand wouldn't have to reach so far. That evening, the two of them walked side by side into a barbecue joint near campus. The moment they stepped inside, they saw Mia waving enthusiastically, completely oblivious to the curious glances from other diners. Lily ducked her head and slid into the booth next to Mia. Lucas sat across from her. You got here early, Lucas teased. Mia's face lit up with a comically shocked expression. So you saw it on the university homepage? Huh? Lucas was confused. Did I say that? I just said she was early. Before he could respond, Mia whipped out her phone. She didn't even have to search. The university's homepage was already on her screen. A group photo of the drama club and a video of her interview were featured prominently. Because of its positive message and the effort they'd put in, their play had been chosen as the official representative piece for the homecoming week promotions. While Scarlett's dance performance had garnered more student buzz, the play was ultimately better for the university's PR. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it, Mia sighed dramatically. I don't know why the university has to make such a big deal out of everything. She turned to Lily. Hey Lily, did you watch the promotional video before you applied here? I totally did. That's what sealed the deal for me. The sweet, unsuspecting Lily had no idea Mia was setting a trap and just shook her head. I heard they're going to edit our play into the new admissions video. I'll send you a link when it's out. Lucas rolled his eyes. You really cut to the chase, don't you? Soon, a server came over with menus. Order the expensive stuff, Lucas whispered to Lily with a grin. Let's eat her out of house and home. We can't let our hard work go unrewarded. Mia couldn't take it anymore. You are so shameless. You think I don't know what you've been up to? She pulled Lily into a protective hug, her voice rising. You're just using this as a smokescreen to get to her. Huh? Lucas stared at her, genuinely confused. What are you talking about? I have no idea what that means. He turned to Lily. Did you get that? The girl shook her head again, equally lost. Mia was deflated. She felt like the two of them were ganging up on her. Shooting Lucas a glare, she pushed a menu in front of Lily. Just order whatever you want. Get all your favorites. You helped me out more than anyone. In truth, it was the outwardly nonchalant Lucas who had been the most help to the drama club, but Mia would rather die than admit it and see the smug look on his face. She looped her arm through Lily's. Come on, what looks good? Lucas and I are at your mercy tonight. Watching Lily study the menu with such adorable seriousness, Lucas felt a wave of affection. She worked part-time at a place like this, but she would never dream of spending her own money on a meal here. He wasn't in a hurry. He pulled out his phone to scroll while he waited. Suddenly, he saw it, a red notification badge on his Instagram icon showing 99+. He froze. What the hell? As someone with a compulsive need to clear every single notification, he couldn't stand it. He tapped into the app, his curiosity piqued, and discovered a flood of message requests. All from strangers, many of whom had opened with a string of curses. Seriously? Pages and pages of requests, all from people flaming him because Scarlet had publicly apologized. This year's freshmen are on another level of stupid, he thought. Last year's class wasn't nearly this aggressive. A bunch of salty trolls acting like they were still in middle school. A small smile played on his lips as he put his phone back on the table. When the people trying to piss you off are this pathetic, all you can do is find it amusing. Mia was getting impatient. Haven't you decided yet? Just pick something. Lily twisted her fingers together, looking hesitant. I was just thinking about what you and Lucas like to eat. Lucas tapped Lily's cheek with the end of his chopstick. I like to eat whatever you like to eat, he said with a soft laugh. Hurry up, I'm starving. Oh. A few minutes later, the girl finally finished ordering. She had remembered every single thing Lucas or Mia had ever casually mentioned liking. The romaine lettuce and beef tripe were for Lucas. The sautéed cabbage and tofu skin rolls were for Mia. She hadn't ordered a single thing just for herself. It feels like every new restaurant is a barbecue place these days, Mia complained after a few bites. You can barely find a regular restaurant anymore. It's either barbecue or Korean barbecue, Lily nodded, or all-you-can-eat versions of both. She thought it was strange, too. When she was a kid visiting Seattle, she remembered seeing all kinds of restaurants. Now, not so much. The city had a reputation for being a culinary wasteland. When her gaze drifted to Lucas, he sighed and began to explain. It's because the overhead for a barbecue joint is way lower than for a traditional chef-driven restaurant. How big of a difference can it be? Mia asked, ever the skeptic. Lucas kept his eyes on Lily, patiently explaining. A traditional restaurant's entire menu, its whole identity, depends on the head chef. If he walks, the style of the food changes overnight, and you risk losing your customer base. Not to mention, training chefs takes time and costs a fortune. But a barbecue place is different, he continued. As long as you have a solid, standardized set of recipes and sauces, anyone can run one. You don't need a world-class chef. You can pour all your resources into staff training and flashy marketing. That's how chains like Texas Roadhouse got so huge. Mia, having listened to Lucas's mini-lecture, stopped arguing. She bit down hard on her straw, taking her frustration out on her bubble tea. She had to admit, Lucas was just a little bit smarter than her. Just a tiny bit. They chattered away, jumping from one topic to another as only college students in survival mode can. Lily was quieter, mostly using the serving chopsticks to sneak pieces of meat and vegetables into Lucas's bowl, occasionally adding something to Mia's. Lucas felt like his small bowl was never empty. No matter how fast he ate, new food would magically appear. Mia watched them silently, thinking to herself that she really needed to find a boyfriend. After a while, Lucas couldn't take it anymore. How much have you even eaten yourself? I think you spent the whole time feeding me. He grabbed a clean chopstick from the side and started poking Lily's cheek. He used a little more force this time, making her flinch and close one eye every time he poked, but she still didn't pull away. I've eaten a lot, she mumbled in her defense. Lucas didn't believe her and continued his gentle assault. Her cheeks were so soft and her skin so smooth, it was too fun to tease her. She looked so delicate. He wondered what it would feel like to kiss her. Looks like my feeding plan is working, he said, noticing a healthy plumpness in her cheeks that wasn't there before. He was pleased at first, but then his brow furrowed. Are your bangs longer than they were the other night? He asked, his tone serious. They were already pretty long. Why are you letting them get longer? Lily lowered her head, fiddling with her fingers. So, people don't bully me. Lucas wasn't a girl, and the pretty girls he knew were all confident and assertive. Even if he tried to guess, he couldn't fully imagine what kind of trouble Lily's beautiful eyes could bring her. She hadn't always had bangs. But as she got older, even when she kept her head down, people would notice how pretty she was and try to bother her. The strange looks made her skin crawl, and when guys approached her, she would just run. Each time it happened, she would let her bangs grow a little longer. Over time, they had become the shield they were now. She was alone in this city, the sole provider for her family. All she could do was hide herself away, praying no one would notice her. And it worked. Fewer people gave her those leering, predatory looks now. And besides, she had now met a boy who would smile and look her right in the eyes. Lucas stopped poking her cheek. Instead, he gently rested the chopstick on her forehead, prompting her to lift her head. It's okay, he said softly, repeating the promise he'd made before. I'm here. A small smile touched his lips. No one can bully you. Not even Mia Thompson. Hey, what does this have to do with me? Mia protested, her mouth full of cabbage, her words muffled as she continued to eat. Lily stared at Lucas, her eyes wide and shimmering. Her whole heart trembled. Mia took a few more huge bites, then patted her stomach with a satisfied sigh. It was a mystery how she could eat so much and not gain an ounce. Not only was she thin, but she was thin everywhere. Even Emma Carter looked more like a grown woman than she did. Lily was different. She was slender, but in all the right places. Suddenly, Mia raised her glass of bubble tea. A toast to the drama club's first successful performance. Shouldn't you save that for tomorrow? Lucas asked. Mia froze. All right, what will I say tomorrow? Saying it twice will ruin the effect. Lucas chuckled at her deer-in-the-headlights expression. He raised his own can of Pepsi, catching Lily's eye. Seeing his signal, Lily lifted her glass as well. Lucas cleared his throat. Then let's toast to us meeting. Mia's lips curled into a smile, revealing her cute canine teeth. To us. It was past 8 o'clock when they left the restaurant. A wave of warm, humid air hit them the moment they stepped outside. The street was alive with neon lights, and the nearby food trucks and sidewalk tables added to the city's vibrant, smoky energy. Drunken shouts echoed from a group of people at one table, where skewers of meat lay forgotten, but bowls of peanuts and edamame were steadily being consumed. The muggy air announced the official arrival of summer. Lucas let out a breath. Are you heading back on your own, or do you want me to drop Lily off first, and then you? Mia smiled and shook her head. I'll just grab an Uber, it's not far. She knew Lucas wasn't insisting. Besides, as Lily's best friend, she felt she should give them some space. She didn't know exactly what was going on between them, but some friendships were perfect just as they were loud, chaotic, and fun. Taking it a step further could ruin everything. For her, Lucas was that kind of friend. Just as Lucas was leading Lily toward his car, Mia waved him over. Hey, come here. I need to tell you something. Lucas found it odd, but walked back, a questioning look on his face. Lily continued toward the car. He looked at Mia's unusually serious expression and joked. It's not going to work between us. You should give up now. Mia blinked, almost forgetting what she was going to say. She flushed with anger and yelled, Lucas, you're unbelievable. Lucas suddenly took 2 steps to the side, pretending he didn't know her. Confused, Mia turned and saw a bunch of people from the food truck staring at her. Never mind, she thought. Lucas isn't even friend material. Once the curious onlookers had turned away, Lucas stepped back. What did you want to say? He had a feeling he knew what it was about. It had to be related to Scarlet. Mia had been there up close when it all went down. If he was two-timing, she, as Lily's only real female friend, would have to be the one to deal with him. Mia's expression was serious. You need to think this through. So, you're going to tell me that if I don't leave her alone soon, she's not going to be able to let me go? Lucas asked softly, his eyes on Lily in the distance. Mia was taken aback. She hadn't expected him to understand without her having to spell it out. No wonder everyone likes talking to smart people. Yes, and no, she said, rubbing the back of her neck and looking him straight in the eye. What I'm saying is, she already can't let you go. That girl's heart was too small. So small it could probably only hold one man for her entire life. When she looks at you secretly, her eyes light up. Lucas gave her a look that said she was stating the painfully obvious, then a slow grin spread across his face. Don't worry, he said. I'm never going to leave her. Just then, the Uber Mia had called pulled up. Lucas waved and walked toward Lily, thinking to himself that Mia was more perceptive than she let on, probably second only to Vanessa. And she was a fiercely loyal friend to Lily. He wondered how the two of them had ever met. When Lucas reached the car, he saw Lily pressing her fingernail into a bug bite on her arm. She pressed once horizontally, then once vertically, making a tiny X. Mosquito bite? He asked. Lily nodded. My bad. I should have given you the keys, he said with a smile, opening the car door for her. Want me to? Take a look at it. No, it's fine. Lucas didn't press it, silently cursing the stupid mosquito. If it had bitten him, he could have asked her for help. He carefully pulled his seatbelt across and buckled her in. Is Mia okay? Lily suddenly asked. Lily wasn't like other girls. When she asked a question, it was just a question. She wasn't trying to probe or test him. She was genuinely worried about Mia, not trying to find out what they had talked about. But Lucas didn't care either way. He answered honestly, she told me not to leave you. Lily's brain short-circuited. She ducked her head in embarrassment, her long hair falling around her face. All Lucas could see was the pink blush of her ears and the pale skin of her neck. Are you going to leave me? She asked after a moment, her voice trembling. It was a good thing Lucas always listened intently when she spoke, or he would have missed it entirely. Are you going to push me away? Lucas asked, watching the backup camera as he turned the steering wheel. No, of course not, Lily said, stunned. How could I ever push you away? Then I'm not going to leave you, Lucas said with a smile. A few minutes later, Lily was looking out the window when she noticed something. This isn't the way to my house. She seemed proud that she could recognize the streets. Lucas burst out laughing. Of course it's not. We're not going to your house. She's so clueless. I could sell her, and she wouldn't even realize it. Where are you taking me? Lily didn't sound panicked. She trusted him completely, without a shred of doubt. To the mall, Lucas said. I'm buying you a new outfit. The girl who hadn't been panicked a second ago was now in a full-blown panic. Why would you buy me clothes? You wear the same few white t-shirts every day. Don't you think it's time for something new? He reached over and pinched the corner of her shirt. The fabric was rough from countless washes. Besides, you gave me the DSLR bag, remember? Are you going to refuse a gift in return? Is that how social reciprocity works between friends? Lily nodded, unable to argue. It wasn't until they had parked in front of the mall that she remembered she'd given him the bag as a thank you gift in the first place. I gave him a gift to thank him, and now he's giving me a gift to thank me? Did I miss something? After parking the car, Lucas reached over to unbuckle her seatbelt. Lily, blushing furiously, quickly shook her head and gestured that she could do it herself. He didn't insist, just grinned and got out of the car. He knew she'd be flustered. The only reason he tried was to short-circuit her train of thought. Her reactions were slow, and he wasn't about to give her a chance to overthink things. A few seconds later, she climbed out of the car, looking at him with a hint of guilt. She hated refusing his requests, but she had been caught off guard. Even though she knew she hadn't done anything wrong, she still felt a pang of regret. Lucas didn't seem to mind at all. Let's go, he said with a smile. It wasn't a weekend, so the mall was relatively empty at this hour, with most people gathered in the restaurants. As they walked toward the escalator, people kept trying to hand them flyers. Having done herself, Lily knew how tough the job was, so she politely accepted one every time. And because Lucas had seen her do it, he abandoned his usual habit of only taking one if he felt like it and started accepting them all. Soon their hands were full of restaurant ads, and they had to make a detour to find a trash can. Can I buy you a shirt, too? Lily asked quietly on the escalator, turning to look back at him. She was standing one step above him, which put them at the exact same height, allowing her to look directly into his eyes. Lucas smiled. Wait until you get paid from your next tutoring session. He didn't refuse. By then, she'd know exactly how much she was earning. He wanted to instill a new mindset in her as soon as possible. You don't get rich by saving pennies. The time she spent trying to cut every possible corner would be better spent improving herself to earn more. More importantly, intellectual labor paid far more and was far less exhausting than working as a waitress or handing out flyers. A full day of that work wouldn't earn her what she could make in a single hour of tutoring. Once she experienced that a few times, earning $100 an hour, she'd understand on her own that she needed to focus her efforts there. He couldn't just tell her these things. She was too inexperienced to grasp it. It was like boiling a frog. He had to do it slowly, and the lesson would sink in much deeper. Lily stared at his smiling face, completely unaware of the complex calculations running through his mind. She was just happy he'd agreed so easily, and she turned back around, already trying to recall his usual style of dress. She was so lost in thought that she didn't notice the escalator reaching the top. Her foot slipped as she stepped off, and she lost her balance, flailing backward. Lucas, looking utterly unsurprised, shot out an arm and steadied her, gently guiding her onto the flat ground. Pay attention, he said softly. The truth was, even if she'd stood perfectly still, the escalator would have just nudged her forward. It was panicking that made you lose your balance. He knew this from extensive childhood experimentation. He used to think it was fun to let the escalator push him off, until his mom had put a very firm end to that game. Oh, Lily's heart was still pounding. She wasn't sure if she should be scared or embarrassed. More and more, she felt that being around Lucas was incredibly reassuring. He seemed to have a solution for everything. Even now, he was walking slightly behind her, keeping an eye on her and their surroundings. Thinking this, she snuck a glance at his profile. He was focused on the storefronts. He had some experience with shopping, but not much, all of it acquired under duress from his mother and Emma. Lucas felt a headache coming on. If a dress was too expensive, this girl would never accept it. If it was cheap, it probably wouldn't look good. Finding something with the right balance of price and style could take forever. Still, first grocery shopping, now clothes shopping. He found the experience surprisingly novel. He'd seen plenty of other couples strolling through the mall, and he figured that to any outsider, he and Lily looked like just another one of them. He stopped in front of a long, cream-colored French-style dress. What about this one? Do you like it? He knew her personality, so he'd already ruled out anything too revealing. With enough coaxing, she might wear something like that for him in private, but that would defeat the purpose of buying her clothes to wear out. Lily walked over slowly. She didn't look at the dress first. She peeked at the price tag. $88. It's not very nice, she said, shaking her head. Lucas sighed. Let's keep looking. He led her through the store, patiently browsing. If he'd been with Emma, he would have been whining and complaining by now. But for some reason, today he didn't feel tired at all. But after looking at dozens of t-shirts and dresses, Lily still found every single one not very nice. He patiently continued with her for a while longer until they stopped in front of a pale green dress. This one was simpler, but the fabric and craftsmanship were clearly superior. A young, friendly saleswoman quickly came over. "Shopping for your girlfriend? Sir, you have excellent taste. This style would be perfect for her figure." Lucas turned to the girl beside him. "This one's pretty low-key." Lily pretended to examine the dress while sneaking another look at the price. Over $100. That was enough for so many pork rib dinners. It was beautiful, though. She studied it for a moment longer before reluctantly tearing her eyes away. "I don't like it. Let's look at something else," she said, her tone dismissive. Lucas smiled wryly. "Go try it on." "Huh?" Lily looked at him, confused. "We've been walking for so long. Maybe you don't like it because you haven't seen it on," Lucas said reasonably. "It doesn't cost anything to try it on. If you still don't like it, we'll put it back." Lily couldn't argue with that, so she nodded. As soon as she disappeared into the fitting room, Lucas turned and walked briskly away, leaving the saleswoman bewildered. For a second, she thought she was witnessing a scene from a TV show where the scumbag boyfriend ditches his girlfriend. But a moment later, Lucas returned, holding a shopping bag from another store. He tucked the receipt into his own pocket, handed the bag to the saleswoman, and said softly, "This t-shirt. In a minute, could you please tell her it's part of a buy one, get one free deal?" The saleswoman stared for a second before understanding dawned on her face. She nodded, dazed. Soon, Lily emerged shyly from the fitting room. She was wearing a pale green, cinched-waist dress. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back, and the dress perfectly highlighted her slender waist and graceful figure. Even with her head bowed, she was captivating. The dress accentuated her curves in a way that made it impossible to look away. Lucas had always known Lily had a good figure, but he never could have imagined that such a stunning silhouette was hidden beneath her usual baggy t-shirts. "See? It looks great on you," Lucas said with a smile. Lily felt her cheeks burn. "No, it doesn't." She wasn't sure if he was complimenting her or the dress. The truth was, the longer she wore it, the more she loved it, but the price was still far beyond what she could justify. She slowly lifted her head, hoping he would get his fill of looking so she could go change. But then Lucas said, "We'll take it." "Huh?" The girl was stunned. This wasn't the deal. He tricked me again. Lily looked up at him, her lips forming a small pout of betrayal. Lucas just smiled at her, thinking, "You think I can't tell how much you like it?" Out loud, he said, "It's a great deal. The store is having a promotion. Buy one, get one free." Lily blinked her wide, watery eyes, not processing what he'd said. Just then, the saleswoman bustled over to play her part. She held up the t-shirt Lucas had just bought and said with a bright smile, "We're having a special promotion right now. If you spend over $100, you get a free summer t-shirt." Lucas took it and held it up against Lily. "Why don't you try this on too? See if it fits." "It will fit," the saleswoman said, still smiling. "I've been doing this a long time. I can tell a person's size just by looking." Lucas nodded. "Great. We'll take them both." The saleswoman carefully placed the new t-shirt into a branded shopping bag. Lily looked from Lucas to the saleswoman, blinking slowly, but she didn't notice anything amiss. She could tell the quality of fabric, but she had no ability to judge price from it. She'd never worn nice clothes and didn't recognize any brands. After everything was packed up, Lucas took the bag containing the new t-shirt and Lily's old clothes and let her out of the store before she had a chance to change back. He had no idea when she'd ever work up the courage to wear the dress again, so he was going to enjoy the view while he could. The extra t-shirt was insurance, in case she couldn't bring herself to wear the dress. Lily walked silently beside him, her head down in embarrassment. The last time she'd worn a dress was when she was a little girl. Even though it was a long dress, the feeling of not having her legs covered by pants felt strange. She snuck a glance at Lucas, then quickly looked away. She was genuinely happy that he had bought her clothes. It was the first time a boy had ever bought her anything, the first time one had ever taken her shopping. Things she had never dared to dream of, Lucas was quietly making happen for her, one by one. As for the free t-shirt, she didn't doubt it for a second. She believed anything he told her. Even without all the elaborate setup, she would have believed him. Watching the girl in the new dress walking with her head down, and the boy beside her, the saleswoman felt a pang of envy. On their way out of the mall, they kept stealing glances at each other. Lucas couldn't help but look at the girl beside him. The dress elevated her hidden elegance by several levels. Her usual t-shirts were so loose, he'd had no idea her waist was so trim, her figure so perfect. It was just the right kind of slender. He really wanted to wrap his arm around her and see how it felt. Lucas swallowed hard and forced himself to look away. Lily, meanwhile, was looking at Lucas and trying to decide what kind of outfit she should buy for him when she got paid. It was only then that it hit her. To buy him a shirt that cost a few $100s, she would only need to tutor for 2 or 3 hours. That was something she couldn't have even fathomed before. A full day of handing out flyers barely earned her $200. She finally understood what Lucas had been trying to tell her. If she just kept working hard at what he suggested, she could definitely earn enough money for her mother's surgery. She could never do it by handing out flyers and waitressing. Seeing Lucas was still browsing, Lily quickly mumbled, Can we go back now? Please don't buy me anything else." She was terrified he was going to buy her another outfit. And even though she was with him, the number of stares she was getting still made her uncomfortable. She forced herself to keep her head up, just as they had agreed. Many of the guys who passed by would look at her, their gazes turning wistful when they saw Lucas beside her. The girls who looked at her, then at Lucas, had eyes full of envy. There was a subtle difference. "Okay, no more for you," Lucas said, pretending to give in. Lily instantly relaxed. But then he added, "Now we just have to get something for your mom." "What?" "No, we don't need to. I'll work and earn the money to buy her things myself." Lily was so flustered she grabbed his arm to stop him. "Did you ask your mom?" Lucas turned to her, his face a mask of innocence. The girl froze, then shook her head. "No. Then how do you know she doesn't want me to buy her anything?" Lily's hand was still gripping his arm, her mouth slightly open as she tried to think of what to say. "She really doesn't need it," she tried again after a moment. "It's not up to you. This isn't for you," Lucas said, then pretended to think for a moment. "How about this? I'll go ask her." "Okay," Lily said, relieved. She knew Sophia would politely refuse. What she didn't realize was, Lucas meant he would buy the things first and then go ask. After much wrangling, Lily finally managed to drag Lucas, laden with shopping bags, out of the mall. The moment they were outside, she hastily let go of his arm. "You're bullying me again," she said, her voice full of grievance. Lucas laughed and poked her cheek, enjoying the soft texture. "Buying you clothes is bullying now." "That's not what I meant." Lily pursed her lips. "Which made you happier, me buying you clothes or me bullying you?" he asked. "Happier," Lily said honestly. In truth, it wasn't just a little happier. It was a lot. Lucas nodded. "So, shouldn't you be thanking me? Why are you complaining that I'm bullying you?" Lily blinked, feeling strangely convinced by his logic. Thank you." Lucas was very satisfied. "You're welcome. It was my pleasure." Only then did he notice the area outside the mall entrance was covered in a sea of fake flowers, each with a small white light in its center. It looked almost magical. "Let me take a picture of you," he said, turning to her. "Who knows when you'll wear this dress again?" Time was fleeting, whether it was yesterday or just the last second. And memory was too unreliable to perfectly record every image, every person who walked into your life, every scene that made you stop and stare. This was why Lucas loved photography. The girl nodded silently, not refusing. Maybe she was used to it, or maybe she had simply given up resisting. Lily stood in the middle of the sea of lights, forcing herself to look up at Lucas's intensely focused expression. The gentle breeze kept sweeping her hair to one side, and she raised a hand to her neck to hold it in place. Surrounded by the soft glow of the lights, the scene was breathtakingly beautiful. "I wish you would learn how to smile," Lucas said as he adjusted the focus, looking at the girl in his camera's frame. Lily looked confused. "I don't know how to smile?" Lucas nodded. "I've never seen you smile. Not once." Lily was bewildered by Lucas's words. She tried to remember if she had ever smiled at him. She had certainly smiled on the inside. When he first messaged her, when he first tried her oatmeal, when he played the guitar for her, and when he first told her, "I'm here." She had even smiled just now, when she put on the dress he bought her. She had smiled so many times. But whether she had shown it on her face, she wasn't sure. She had suppressed her emotions for so long, habitually hiding everything inside, that she couldn't tell the difference anymore. As Lucas walked slowly toward her, she asked nervously, "I haven't." Lucas held his phone out to her. The girl in the picture was shy, but you could tell she was happy. Dressed in a pale green gown amidst the glowing flowers, with her hair falling straight down her back, she looked like a portrait of serene beauty. But something was missing. She saw it immediately. She wasn't smiling. "From the day I met you until now, I've never seen you smile," Lucas said, his expression serious. It was something that had been bothering him for a long time. Forget Mia. Even his sister Emma, who was usually reserved around strangers, laughed a dozen times a day. Even Scarlett smiled. But Lily never had. Not once. Lucas put his phone away and looked at the girl blinking blankly in front of him. He hesitated for a moment, then placed his thumbs on her cheeks and gently pushed the corners of her mouth up into a smile. "Have you not been happy these past few days?" he asked softly. "I have," Lily said earnestly, her words muffled by his fingers. "I've been so happy. Every day since she met him had felt like a dream." "Then it's your own problem," Lucas said, dropping his hands with a sigh. "I don't know. I've never tried to hold back a smile," Lily said, confused herself. I try not to cry." Lucas let out a dry laugh. "So you failed at not crying and somehow managed to forget how to smile instead?" He frowned slightly as he thought about it. In truth, while Lily's eyes often welled up, she rarely ever actually broke down and cried. Considering her upbringing, she was almost as incapable of crying as she was of smiling. "We'll take it slow," Lucas said gently, looking at the girl with her head bowed. In that moment, he saw her again as she was in the barbecue restaurant, scolded, holding back tears but never letting them fall. "From now on, try not to suppress your feelings so much. If you want to smile, then smile. If you want to cry, then cry." He poked her cheek softly. "When you smile, I'll smile with you. When you cry, I'll be there to wipe your tears. What's the point in holding back? Things are different now, you know? Maybe before, all you had was your mom, who was afraid of you getting hurt, so you didn't dare to cry. But you have me now. I can share your sadness. You don't have to just eat candy when you're feeling down." As soon as he finished speaking, he felt a warm drop of liquid slide across his finger and fall from view. When he looked back at her face, tears were streaming down her cheeks. Lucas didn't say anything. He just gently wiped her tears away, his movements impossibly soft. On the outside, he was calm. On the inside, he was panicking. "Oh crap, why? How did she just start crying out of nowhere? I was not prepared for this. Are people going to think I'm bullying her? Whatever, let them think what they want. If I'm not embarrassed, they're the ones who are." Unfortunately, in the 2 seconds Lucas spent glancing at the passersby, he missed the faint smile that touched the girl's lips as she cried. Perhaps she got tired of crying while standing. She rested her forehead on his shoulder and continued to weep. After a long time, the heart-wrenchingly beautiful girl finally dried her tears. Lucas smiled faintly, thinking that girls really were made of water. They could cry for so long. As for why she was crying, he had no idea, and he knew he shouldn't ask. Maybe it was gratitude. Maybe she was releasing all the pain she had held in for years. Whatever it was, letting it out was a good thing. Under the night sky, they walked back toward the car. "You leaned on my shoulder for a long time back there. You owe me, you know," Lucas joked, looking up at the moon peeking out from behind the clouds. "So, next time you can cry on my shoulder." "No, thanks." When the car stopped at the entrance to her alleyway, Lily didn't get out right away. Her eyes were still a little swollen. Lucas had even gone to a pharmacy to buy a cold pack for her to use. A small part of him was worried her mother would be concerned, but a much larger part was worried about his own reputation. "Remember to send me the picture you took," Lily said, her eyes closed. Lucas slowly shook his head. "This one didn't turn out well." "I thought it was nice," Lily said, removing the cold pack to look at him curiously. She saw his expression was heavy. He gave a wry smile. "It's just a phone. If I had a good DSLR, it would have been better." His own DSLR was broken, and he refused to use the one Scarlett had given him. He was thinking about when he could afford to buy a new one. Lily looked at his downcast expression, blinked, and seemed to be lost in thought. Outside the women's dormitory, Scarlett Montgomery looked tiredly at the boy kneeling before her, holding a bouquet of flowers. He had to be a freshman who knew nothing about her family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have so casually parked his sports car just a short distance away. He had probably seen her perform at the gala and gotten infatuated. "Thank you for your feelings, but I'm sorry. I already have someone I like," she said, her tone firm. Scarlett now made a point to thank anyone who confessed to her. The only person she truly wanted to thank, however, she had already pushed away with her own hands. The boy looked utterly baffled, as if he'd heard something impossible. "You have someone you like? Then why isn't he with you? There's no way anyone would ever turn you down." A bitter smile touched Scarlett's lips, but she said nothing. "He wouldn't have, if I hadn't made the same mistake over and over again." The boy didn't seem ready to give up. He stood up slowly, gazing at the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. He had never been rejected before. After seeing Scarlett's performance, he had immediately broken up with his girlfriend, never once considering the possibility of failure. "Do I really not have a chance?" he asked, his voice a mix of disbelief and desperation. Scarlett's expression was as cool and detached as ever. "You'd be better off spending your energy on someone who loves you, instead of wasting your time on me. No one else would ever have a chance." Scarlett, who had never paid other boys any mind, now had even less room for them in her world. With that, she turned and walked toward her dorm. On the path, the voices of a couple caught her ear. "It's so late. Why did you come all the way over here? The girl's voice was chiding, but laced with affection. I was worried you were hungry. You always get those late-night cravings, the boy stammered, scratching his head, clearly unsure if his girlfriend was angry or touched. You could just move in with me, the girl said softly. Her boyfriend's eyes lit up. He looked so excited he would have gathered all 7 Dragon Balls if she'd asked him to. Really? He asked eagerly. The girl put her hands behind her back and leaned in close, her eyes curving into crescents. Then you could bring me snacks whenever I want. Scarlet stood frozen, watching them. No one, whether they liked her or not, would ever imagine that Scarlett Montgomery would envy a normal couple. The stunning, aloof girl watched the beautiful scene before her eyes filled with longing. A small, unconscious smile formed on her lips, happy for their happiness. But at the same time, a single, crystalline tear traced a path down her own cheek. She took out her phone and looked at the last message she had sent to Lucas. As expected, there was no reply. Scarlet bit her lip hard. If our parents weren't so close, you would have blocked me by now. She knew that if she posted anything on her Facebook timeline, a line of guys would form to bring her whatever she wanted. But that wasn't what she wanted. She tilted her head up at a nearby lamppost, the bright light blurring in her vision as if seen through a layer of water. 2 moons hung in the night sky, one white and one yellow. The moon and its reflection in her tear-filled eyes. She wasn't sure which was real. I really miss you, Lucas. Once Lily's eyes were less swollen, Lucas walked her to her door. They moved through the narrow alleyway, the single overhead light casting 2 long shadows behind them. When they reached her apartment, Lily suddenly realized she was still wearing the new dress. There was nowhere to change, so she ducked her head in embarrassment as she fumbled for her keys. Lucas followed behind, carrying all the bags. The door swung open to reveal Sophia Thompson in her wheelchair, quietly looking out the small window. A sliver of moonlight fell across her, making her figure look lonely. She was about the same age as his own mother, Emily, but he'd never seen her watching TV or looking at a phone. For a woman from the mountains who could no longer walk, perhaps staring into the night was her only way to pass the time. The apartment was dark, maybe to save electricity. A lump formed in Lucas's throat. Honey, why are you back so late? Sophia's voice was filled with worry and longing, but not blame. Lily started to stammer an explanation, but Lucas cut in. Good evening, Sophia. We went out for dinner together. Hearing his voice, she instantly seemed to relax, wheeling herself around to face them. Oh, if you were with him, then I'm not worried. She smiled, then her eyes widened as she saw the mountain of shopping bags in his hands. Lucas, what is all that? While Lily fumbled for the light switch in the dark, Lucas had already knelt beside Sophia's wheelchair. He tilted his face up slightly, positioning himself just below her line of sight. I saw them all was having a sale, so I bought you some supplements, he said with a soft smile. Sophia looked troubled. I can't accept all this from you. You should save your money to buy yourself something nice to eat. Lucas put on a hurt expression. You can't say that, Sophia. You fed me before. I was planning on coming around here often. The next time my mom yells at me, I'm coming here for refuge. If you don't accept these, I'll be too embarrassed to come back. Sophia instinctively reached out and stroked his head. All right. You can come whenever you want, Lucas. But you have to listen to me. No more buying things. As she reached out, she suddenly realized that, even though he was much taller than her, she had to reach down to touch his head. She glanced to the side and saw that he was half kneeling beside her, his knees hovering just above the floor to maintain that height. It looked incredibly uncomfortable. She was momentarily stunned. Lucas was still talking as if nothing was wrong. If she hadn't reached out, she would have completely missed the boy's silent act of kindness. At the thought, her eyes began to moisten. You're always welcome here. Remember to visit often, Sophia said gently. Hearing this, Lucas quickly stashed the bags in a corner, so she couldn't insist he take some back with him. You can count on it. Lily's cooking is too good to pass up. Sophia watched as Lily, now wearing the new dress, poured Lucas a glass of water. A weary but genuine smile spread across her face. After dropping Lily off, Lucas headed back to the dorm. He sat in his car, not starting the engine right away, his fingers drumming against the steering wheel as he thought. What could he really do to help Lily right now? Her mother's legs might be treatable with surgery, but he had no idea how much it would cost. He knew it wouldn't be cheap, certainly more than Lily could afford in the next few years. The problem was their relationship probably wasn't at a point where he could intervene in something so serious. Overstepping would just make her feel indebted and crush her pride, creating a power imbalance between them. That wasn't what he wanted. He didn't want a version of Lily who was obedient to him out of a sense of obligation. And while his parents were kind-hearted and might lend him the money, It had to be money he earned himself. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel right. If he didn't earn it, he didn't have a right to use it that way. He chuckled softly, started the engine, and pulled away. Taking care of this girl was going to be a long, complicated process. One step at a time. He was halfway back when his phone rang. It was Ryan Brooks. "Hey, Lucas, my man. First tell me what you want. Then I'll decide if I'm your man," Lucas said flatly. Ryan was never this friendly unless he needed something. Usually it was just Lucas. "It's not a huge deal, it's just, I need to borrow some money," Ryan said, his voice strained. "Are you out right now?" Lucas asked. If he needed money, he could have just waited until Lucas got back to the dorm. There was no reason to call. Ryan sounded like he'd been caught. "Yeah, I'm out. On a date. I saw the menu prices and kind of freaked out. I'm calling you from the bathroom." Lucas sighed, a reluctant smile on his face. "How much? I'll WhatsApp it to you." Ryan paused. 300. What? Ryan, what the hell are you eating, solid gold? $300. Lucas swerved, nearly running a red light. Ryan's entire monthly allowance was only half that. "I had no idea this sushi place was so expensive." Ryan's voice trailed off, but the embarrassment was gone. The fact that Lucas was yelling meant he wasn't going to say no. In their dorm, Lucas and Jason were the reliable ones. He hadn't dared to call Jason. Jason would have lent him the money, but the lecture would have been 10 times worse. Lucas watched the traffic lights count down, then asked with another sigh, "You're with a girl?" Ryan mumbled an affirmative. "Trying to follow my footsteps, are you?" Lucas said, annoyed. This wasn't even close to his old path. At least he'd never been taken for a ride like this. "You want to come join us?" Ryan asked, trying to change the subject. Lucas snorted. "And do what? Steal your thunder?" He was being diplomatic. Jason never brought him along on dates for that very reason. Even if Lucas just sat there silently, he was too much of a distraction. Some guys were too good-looking to even be a wingman. When Lucas didn't respond, he added, "Please, man, just this once. Bianca is a really great girl." A great girl who orders a $300 meal on a first date? Lucas shot back. "Fine, send me the address. I have to see this train wreck for myself." After parking, Lucas sized up the sushi house. The decor was cheesy and over the top, a gaudy imitation of Japanese style. All flash, no substance. The place was right near the university, yet he'd never heard of it, which meant the food had to be mediocre. It was clearly one of those trashy restaurants that spent all its money on advertising, a place people only went to for the Instagram post. Lucas found the table number Ryan had sent him and slid open the screen. He saw Ryan sitting across from a girl with a ponytail. The table was so low they had to sit on floor cushions, which made Lucas roll his eyes. He silently swore he would never set foot in a place like this again. "Hi, senior." The girl turned and saw Lucas, immediately flashing him a smile. It was sweet and a little fake. Lucas nodded, taking her in. She had a sharp, delicate face and was reasonably pretty, just barely making the cut. Probably a 7. 5 out of 10. Mia, it was an effortless 9. "This is my friend, Lucas Carter. We planned the welcome gala together last year. He's the one the dean praised," Ryan explained to the girl. Lucas didn't say anything, just sat down next to Ryan. He had zero goodwill for a girl who would let a guy she barely knew drop $300 on a meal. He had no intention of engaging. Ryan didn't pick up on Lucas's reluctance. "This is the girl who co-hosted with me, Bianca Cooper. She's a year below us." Bianca was in the arts department and had also been involved in planning the gala, which was why she'd recognized Lucas immediately. He, however, had no memory of her. He realized then that she was the girl who had hosted the recent homecoming performance. No wonder her voice sounded vaguely familiar. His expression shifted. He glanced at Ryan. "You want me, the guy who was the subject of campus-wide gossip at that event, to be your wingman?" She was standing right next to Scarlet when it happened. "You two had great chemistry on stage. My friends and I were just talking about it," Lucas said politely. Since he was here, he might as well play the part. At least until Ryan paid him back, which would make this meal technically free. Bianca blushed slightly. "Really? Thank you. I think it's even more impressive that you, a senior who wasn't even in the student union, could help plan the whole thing. You're like a hidden master. So many girls in my class wanted your number after you went on stage." "Bianca memorizes her lines just as fast as you do," Ryan chimed in. "I never saw her stumble once during rehearsals." "Oh no, I get really nervous. I couldn't have done it without your help," Bianca replied to Ryan, her tone warm and familiar, before seamlessly turning back to Lucas to continue talking about the gala, as if the small interruption had never happened. Lucas gave a non-committal response, finally understanding why Ryan had agreed to come here. This girl was a social chameleon, making Ryan feel like they had a special connection. When you feel incredibly comfortable talking to someone you don't know well, it doesn't always mean you found a kindred spirit. Sometimes it just means their emotional intelligence is so much higher than yours that they're just condescending to your level. Hidden Master? I was just free labor, Lucas said. I only got to know the arts department people thanks to Ryan here. Bianca sipped her barley tea, resting her chin on her hand as she looked at him. That's what a hidden master is. I joined the student union hoping to become like you. Lucas wanted to deflect her attention, so he countered, it's useless. The whole gaining experience thing in the student union is a scam. Bianca pivoted instantly, refusing to let the mood turn awkward. You're so right. I regretted it as soon as I joined. The longer I'm in it, the more I realize that talented people like you are just born that way. Lucas clapped Ryan on the shoulder. I was just a backup. You have no idea. When he first became vice president, he created a dozen contingency plans for that gala, all the way down to planning. So when the host got sick, he had a solution ready. He'd already thought of everything. The reality was that Ryan had begged him the night before to memorize the script for an emergency substitution. But Lucas wasn't about to say that. It wasn't his date. The girl covered her mouth and giggled. Really? That's amazing. Ryan smiled awkwardly. It was nothing. Lucas gave up. I serve you a perfect opening, and you just let it drop. You're hopeless. Noticing Ryan's stiff posture, Bianca asked, Is this your first time having sushi? Ryan quickly denied it. It was. When a sushi platter arrived, Bianca asked Ryan sweetly, Do you want some soy sauce? Ryan, misinterpreting the question as optional, shook his head. No, thanks. A tiny, knowing smile played on Bianca's lips. Lucas could see she was toying with Ryan for her own amusement. He took a deep breath, suppressing his anger, and called out to the server. Hey, I'm new to this. How do you eat the sushi? A waitress hurried over and, after asking about his preferences, helped him prepare a dipping sauce. In the end, it was Bianca who poured the soy sauce for him. Seeing what Lucas had done, Ryan seemed to understand. He followed his lead and made a new sauce dish for himself, no longer eating the fish with wasabi alone. Your first time, senior? Bianca asked with a smile. Lucas had been here once before with Emma, but he nodded anyway. Yeah. The next hour was torture. Ryan was so nervous talking to Bianca that his brain kept short-circuiting, and Lucas was forced to carry the conversation. It wasn't until the server came for the bill that the actual host of the dinner, Ryan, finally had a moment to shine. The waitress bowed slightly. Your total is $2.95. Who will be paying? I'll get it, Bianca said with a wave, gesturing for the server to come to her. But she made no move to take out her phone. Lucas had no intention of paying. He reached out and subtly put a hand on Ryan's arm, wanting to see how Bianca would play this. He could see everything clearly, but he wasn't about to help just anyone save face. He wasn't the type to stand by silently while his friend got played. No way, it's my treat, Ryan said, already opening his payment app. Let's just split it. You barely ate anything, Lucas said to Ryan, his tone serious. Ryan hesitated, then walked to the counter. It's fine, I've got it. Silence fell over the booth. Lucas stared at his phone, not bothering to look up, already trying to think of an excuse to beat the crap out of Ryan later. Senior, I've remembered you ever since the welcome gala, Bianca said softly, a small smile on her face. Can I get your WhatsApp? Lucas didn't even look up. I don't think so. I'm afraid another girl wouldn't be happy. Didn't Scarlett already reject you? She asked, propping her chin on her hand, seeming to know a lot about his business. I didn't say it was her. 10 minutes later, Lucas sat in the driver's seat, staring straight ahead. The neon signs from the street outside washed over his face in shifting colors. After putting Bianca in a taxi, Ryan opened the passenger door and slid in. Whatever they had talked about in their farewell, a faint smile still lingered on his otherwise troubled face. The door clicked shut, and the humid night air that had snuck in slowly dissipated. Lucas didn't look at him. Staring forward, he said flatly, When I take Lily out to eat, she hesitates to order a $10 dish. Ryan hadn't picked up on the subtle power plays during dinner. He didn't realize Bianca's offer to pay was just for show. He thought Lucas had stopped him because he didn't want him to spend so much money. He listened to Lucas without arguing. I covered for you this time, so you wouldn't lose face. But don't ever ask me for money for something like this again. Damn it, I don't get it. You have a living, breathing example right next to you. You think my life was easy back then. Lucas was pissed that his savings for a new DSLR had just taken a major hit. But what could he do? Ryan had been a good friend to him for the past 3 years. I'm telling you, stay away from her. You're not in the same league, Lucas said, finally turning to look at him, his expression dead serious. While you were paying the bill, she asked for my number. I said no. Ryan thought for a moment. Maybe she just wanted to get to know my friends? Like when you added Vanessa. I told her you were one of my best friends. Bullshit, Lucas snapped, reversing the car out of the parking spot, his voice sharp. You're more delusional than I ever was. Think about it. Would Vanessa ever let Jason spend $300 on a meal for her? No. If Jason even tried, Vanessa would break his legs. Lily wouldn't either. If she saw me spending that much on her, she'd probably cry with regret. Lucas was too angry to be methodical or gentle. Ryan, stung by the verbal assault, shot back defensively. What about Scarlet? The implication was clear. Lucas had also gone to extreme lengths for a girl, so he had no right to judge. Lucas's face darkened. He hated thinking about his past with Scarlet. Scarlet gave me a $3,000 DSLR. Ask Bianca to buy you one of those. The moment the words left his mouth, Ryan regretted it. He hadn't meant to hurt him. He fell silent, staring out the window at the passing city lights. Lucas impatiently honked his horn at the car in front of them, then continued after a moment. It stops being love when it's just one person pushing boundaries and the other person romanticizing their own sacrifice. It was the last thing Lucas said to Ryan on the drive back. A few uneventful days passed. Many third-year students, like Ryan, were blindly throwing themselves into one last burst of youthful recklessness. From their perspective, starting an internship meant the end of their youth, and none of them wanted to graduate with the regret of never having been in a relationship. Meanwhile, another group, the established couples, was falling into a state of anxiety about the future. Inevitably, one person would avoid thinking about their future together while the other became consumed by it, leading to constant arguments. It was peak breakup season for university couples. One morning, Ryan finished getting ready and was about to head out. As he opened the door, Jason called out to him. "What the hell is wrong with you? The girl is probably using you as an ATM, and you're still chasing after her." Jason's expression was one of pure disbelief. "Didn't Lucas tell you?" She secretly asked for his number. Ryan sighed. "We have a chance." Jason looked at him, exasperated. "Ryan, you're obsessed. Lucas was right. You're way more far gone than he ever was." Ryan was indignant. "The girl I'm chasing isn't as beautiful as Scarlet. Her family isn't as rich, and she's not some campus queen. How am I more obsessed than he was?" Jason thought of Lily and scoffed, saying nothing. How easy a girl was to pursue had nothing to do with her looks. Ryan was just twisting logic. People in love are all idiots, he thought. Except for me, of course. Vanessa's the idiot. He quickly corrected himself in his mind. Even Scarlet wasn't like this. Snap out of it, man. She's a user. Before Jason could finish, the door clicked shut. He glanced at Lucas, who was sitting on his bed reading, and sighed again. He's actually going after a girl who asked for your number the first time they met. Jason sat down on the edge of Lucas's bed and smirked. "You were definitely right about one thing. If I tried to buy Vanessa a $300 dinner, she'd absolutely break my legs. And you're just sitting here reading." Jason snatched the book from Lucas's hand. "Aren't you going to try and talk some sense into him?" "I'm not," Lucas said with a yawn. "In his current state, he won't wake up until he has a nasty fall. Let him learn the hard way. He'll either get his heart completely broken one day, or he'll end up like me, worn down by time. Either way, it won't last forever." He added, "It'll probably be the former. That girl is bad news. She's not just going to ignore him, it'll be worse." Jason stared at the closed door, 1,000 thoughts running through his head. Lucas managed to pull himself out of that swamp, but I'm not so sure you can. He looked down and saw he was holding a programming textbook. Then he saw the book on startup procedures next to the bed and grinned. "Look at you all talk," he teased, "saying no to me, but secretly doing all the research." Lucas was unfazed. "Saying no to you is genuine. Researching this is also genuine. If I figure out this is a dead end, I can still try to talk you out of it. You're more reasonable than Ryan, at least." "Of course I am. If I hadn't listened to you, I might still be playing the field and would have missed my chance with Vanessa," Jason said with a soft laugh. "Speaking of which, isn't it a little late for you to be learning to code?" "I actually know a little," Lucas said, taking the book back. "If I hadn't been chasing Scarlet, I wouldn't have chosen to major in law." Jason raised an eyebrow. "So, you basically gave up your dream for her?" "I don't have any dreams," Lucas said quietly. "I'm probably destined for a perfectly average life. I believe that from anyone else, but not from you." "Why?" Lucas asked, surprised. Jason held up one of the library books. "Because while you were spending all that time and energy chasing Scarlet, you still had the best grades in our class. And you're good at everything else, too. I'm honestly in awe of you, man." Lucas sighed. "I wish you were a girl." "What? If I was a girl, you'd chase me." "No, it's just that getting compliments from a guy makes me sick. I think I'm about to puke up yesterday's dinner." Lucas pulled on a t-shirt. "Come on, let's go to class. We're the good kids who don't skip." That evening, Lucas called Lily. He hadn't seen her all day. "Are you working part-time during the day now, too?" he asked, frowning. "Yeah, I'm about to start my shift at the barbecue place. Can I call you back when I get there?" "Okay." Lucas hung up his frown deepening. Something about Lily had felt off for the past few days. Meanwhile, in the academic advisor's office, Scarlet, you still have plenty of time. You can take it slow, the advisor said, patting the girl beside her on the shoulder with concern. The girl had her hair in a ponytail and was sitting by the window, head bent as she diligently organized files for campus recruitment. The golden light of the sunset outside seemed to be a backdrop created just for her, making the scene serene and beautiful. Even just looking at Scarlett's profile was enough to make the advisor, a woman herself, feel a little dazed. No wonder guys from other departments are trying to win her over. Don't wear yourself out. The worst that can happen is I get chewed out by my boss, and I'm used to that by now, the advisor said with a smile. As a new hire, she was resigned to her fate. It's okay, Professor. This is my responsibility, Scarlett said, offering a faint smile before returning to her work. Oh, by the way, you could ask Lucas to help you. The two of you could get this done in no time. She found the situation odd. Scarlett had only ever done this kind of work during her freshman year. After that, she found it tedious and handed it all off to Lucas. She had no idea why Scarlett was suddenly doing it herself again. Did they have a fight? It doesn't seem like it. Lucas is still performing his duties as class president. At the mention of his name, Scarlett froze. The hand she was using to flip through the files stopped mid-air, her entire body rigid. Her vision blurred. She bit her lip and gave a bitter, helpless smile. It's fine. I shouldn't trouble him with everything. The advisor was confused, but she didn't press the issue. An hour later, I'll take the rest of these home with me. Goodbye, Professor. Scarlett, looking somewhat dazed, gathered the stacks of materials. These were for her classmates to use in their internship searches next month. She gently closed the office door just as Vanessa arrived to pick her up for dinner. What's with the ponytail? Trying out a new look? Vanessa asked, eyeing the ponytail swinging behind Scarlett's back. She had always been a fan of Scarlett's long, straight hair worn down. Lucas likes it, Scarlett said simply. Vanessa almost thought she'd misheard. Lucas likes it? Yeah. The girl I saw him with that day had her hair in a ponytail. As she spoke, Scarlett ran a hand through her own ponytail, then let it go. Her hair cascaded down her back, the quality still perfect, but her expression was one of undeniable sadness. Seeing her best friend looking so lost, Vanessa's heart ached. Her conscience told her this was what Scarlett deserved, but as a friend, she couldn't help but feel for her. She was about to offer some words of comfort when Scarlett spoke. Lucas must have been so tired, Scarlett said suddenly. She tilted her head back, gently massaging her neck. Every small movement made her wince in pain. She couldn't help but think that this was just from 2 or 3 days of work. How had Lucas managed to hold it all together for her after she had gotten bored and dumped it all on him? He had never complained to her. Not once. Sit down. I'll give you a massage, Vanessa said gently, pointing to a bench in the hallway. They sat side by side, and Vanessa turned to gently knead the muscles in Scarlett's neck. You know you're supposed to take breaks when you've been looking down for that long, right? She knew her friend had been buried in this work every moment she wasn't in class for the past 2 days. Scarlett closed her eyes and let out a soft whimper as a tear slid down her cheek. It hurts. Vanessa sighed. You already slept on it wrong, and looking down all day just made it worse. You have to bear with it for a bit, or it'll be even worse tomorrow. We'll get some pain relief patches on the way. When she looked up, she saw that the single tear from the pain had become a steady stream. She was stunned. How did Lucas ever get through it all? Scarlett's voice trembled as she tightly gripped Vanessa's hand, like a child who had just realized the gravity of her mistake. And I even complained that he was being too slow. He must have been so hurt. Vanessa didn't say anything more. She just silently massaged her friend's neck, watching her cry. 10 minutes later, Scarlett, who had been silent for a long time, sniffled and said quietly, I'm going to pay him back. Vanessa didn't understand. Pay him back for what? Scarlett stared out at the darkening sky, her eyes dull, the tear tracks already drying on her delicate skin. Everything he gave me. I'm going to give it all back. He chased you for 7 years, Scarlett, Vanessa said, exasperated. How could she possibly pay that back? She sighed and tried to joke. By the time you pay that debt, you'll be pushing 30 and no one will want you. I know. Scarlett wiped her face with a tissue and stood up, continuing to look out the window. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to pay him back. Every last bit. I will give it all back to him. It was the first time Vanessa had ever seen such a look in Scarlett's eyes. She patted her friend's shoulder. Come on, let's go get you those patches, then get some dinner. Scarlett shook her head. I want to go home. Is your mom back? No, I just want to go home. Remembering the look in Scarlett's eyes, Vanessa felt a growing sense of unease. Then I'm going with you, she said firmly. Scarlett managed a small smile. What's with that face? I'm not going to do anything crazy. Why do I have to do anything crazy? After much insistence from Vanessa, Scarlett finally agreed to let her drive her home. Vanessa compromised, promising to leave as soon as she dropped her off. Scarlett leaned against the car window, staring blankly at the gloomy sky. Thick, dark clouds had gathered, casting a depressing pall over the city. A sudden clap of thunder made her jump, pulling her back from her chaotic thoughts. It's going to rain again. I hate it. Before long, the car pulled up in front of Scarlett's apartment building, just as the rain began to fall in heavy sheets. Scarlett took out an umbrella and slowly opened the car door. I feel jealous every time I drop you off here. A riverside penthouse. It's insane, Vanessa joked, watching Scarlett's retreating back. I could work my whole life and never afford this. Maybe if I'm lucky, I could buy a bedroom. The elegant girl opened a black umbrella in the downpour, the rain drumming against the fabric. Scarlett turned back to face her, a small, sad smile on her lips, her dimples showing faintly. What's there to be jealous about? My home is your home. Vanessa was taken aback for a second, then smiled and waved. Go on, and remember to use the pain patches. After watching Vanessa drive away, Scarlett turned to walk toward her building.